Good morning, y'all. Good morning. How's everybody doing on this lovely, beautiful morning? Y'all, I had my microphone all flipped up. Good morning. Let me say that again. Good morning. Good morning. Uh, good morning, Ray. Good morning, Miss Coffee. Good morning, Shako. Good morning, James. So basically, see what had happened was, in retrospect, I watched Five Bay last night, right? She came live. She did her thing, right? And I will say that she didn't have, if you're watching this or you see this replay, Five Babe, you didn't have your monetization on yesterday, sweetheart. There was no way for people to send you super chats or join memberships or none of that. So it wasn't open. You just had the little smiley face down there. That's all you had. Just to let you know, so maybe you need to go look at your YouTube studios and turn that on. Or maybe I mean, even if you had the channel monetized, um, previously, there is a possibility they could have taken. Now, I'm going to tell you why they'll take it. If you don't stay consistent, get the watch hours, sometimes they'll do that, right? Hey, Taser. Um, good morning. Um, Sometimes they'll take that. So I don't know if your monetization's turned off or what's going on with that. I'm just letting you know. Um, this is your med check morning reminder. Also, please take your medications this morning. Don't forget your pressure medicine. Don't forget to take your sugar medicine. Come on now, y'all. Stay on top of it. Stay on top of it. So as I was over there at Five Babes, she said that if JC didn't leave her alone, she was going to join for the love of lemon, y'all. I almost passed out. I was like, and then she was talking about Reed. You know what I'm saying? She was talking about Reed over there. She was talking about her, what do you call that, intro music. She said that James, she didn't get that from James, Treasure Lane. She got that, he got that from her. So she did her Babe Nation little music in the intro, and she said that. And then she was talking about Duchess Kelly Love yesterday and Jay Wilson. I'm trying to remember who else. Oh, Lovely Love. I knew Lovely Love was going to be on the list, y'all, and I knew JC. I didn't know and realize that Jay Wilson, Treasure Lane Treasure Lane was going to be on the list. And I mean, Duchess Kelly Love and her had a, back and forth back in the day. You know what I'm saying? But she said she still loved Duchess or whatnot. Or like she like you, not love. Love's a hard word. Maybe I shouldn't say it that way. You know what I mean? Said that really ain't. It ain't really nothing like that. You know what I mean? Uh, but uh, it was mostly about JC yesterday and the lemon situation, the Just Kristen lemon situation, and then it was she was talking about the Reed situation and talking about how Reed needed to stop putting out lies and that VS had told everybody that, the reason that Reed puts out lies is because that way she could poke at people and they'll come after her and then she has a reason. Now that's what Five Base said. I ain't say that. That ain't it. That ain't my words. That's the views and opinions of someone else. Hey, Miss Tracy. Good morning. Good morning. Um, yeah. So that's what I heard on the streets. And then y'all know over there at Lemons. Now I believe the streets are saying that Lemon wasn't over there supporting Five Babe, and so some folks is saying that that was like a slight or something like that. I don't really think that's where it was coming from in Lemon's mind, in my humble opinion. But I could always be wrong about everything, right? But see what happened was yesterday. Let me tell y'all. Okay, he started his first live early at like 7. So I think what his intention was to do his live because he started his live early. And I think he had intention on redirecting to Five Babe. I think that. But okay, so what had happened was he got him and JC was up there and they was talking about their situation and Duke Farrell was up there, right? Well, she was trying to show videos of her lower body and accidentally flipped over to a body, a video of her sucking her nip nip. Now, some people saying that was accidental. Some people say that was not accidental. That's what the street's saying. Now, there are some people, I heard it through the grapevine in the streets. Now, Lemon, I'm going to give you a pre-warning. There's some folks coming for you, boo. And they looking for any reason to try to snatch their channel. I'm just letting you know. That's what the street's saying. The streets is on fire right now saying that. So if I was you, I'd be real careful right about now. Because there's some people on the streets that's after you. I'm just saying. I heard it through the grapevine. I'll be listening and keep my ear to the streets. So I'm just letting you know. And then it supposedly happened a second time. Now, I didn't see the second time. Yeah, I was in bed. And some people said that it was backstage, right? It was backstage, so didn't nobody see nothing. So he ended the second live and started a third live, right? And his second live was about him and Duke Pharaoh was having a little back and forth. Him and Duke Pharaoh. Um, and he was telling Duke that Duke couldn't say or do anything because he was living with a white woman and the white woman was paying all the bills and stuff like that. And everything, and him and Duke was having a little thing. Duke, I don't think Duke really cared yesterday. I really don't, because that's the way it looked to me. He looked like he was going, "Oh well, whatever." So let me go over here and look because I had saw something on a community wall from Duke Pharaoh, and I was going to read that to y'all and let y'all know what Duke's saying was because Lemon did drop Duke after a minute, then brought him back up. So I was going to tell y'all. I think it was. I got to make sure I get his name right because he always changing his name. You know, we all know him as Duke Pharaoh though, right? Let me see if I can find it. Find his page. Y'all, I'm trying. Let me go back to my regular because somebody was showing it on a community wall, and I thought I had that page pulled up, and I went back to look, and I ain't see it. Where'd it go, y'all? Oh snap! It went somewhere. Let me see here. Okay, now I will say, um, Just Crystal said, "To whom it may concern, I made a mistake on Lemon's panel. I did cash app him to cover his loss. To all that don't know, I am very upset about this action." Now that's what Just Crystal said. She's very upset about the action, right? That's what she said. Let me see if I can. I did see the video because people were spreading it. Now I will say that I did see it, and it was over there on Diva Tomboyish's community wall. If you missed it, it was over there. Ness had it as a thumbnail in her video. It was everywhere, child. The nip slip was everywhere, child. We're gonna call it Nip Slip Gate. Nip Slip Gate. That's gonna be the name of it. Mm-hmm. Nip Slip Gate. Let me see if I can find that post I was talking about though. Because I'm trying to find it, y'all. Let's see. Filter channel. I think the way he spelled it is like that. Oh, there it is. There it is. I found his channel. Yeah, I had it misspelled wrong. That was on me. So he said over there, Karma never sleeps, claiming to get money off of weak women on the internet and dragging them. You don't work or have a job is not having motion. That's what he said. That was his comeback pretty much on his community wow. I believe that was Staggered at Lemon because that was posted right after their interactions. So I do believe that. I may be wrong. If I am, Duke can correct me and tell me, right? But I believe that that was their interaction. Hold on just a minute, y'all. Sorry about that, y'all. My dad came in talking about something that's happening on Facebook and all that other stuff, um, and everything. I apologize for that. Um, but basically, yeah. So that's what Duke Farrell said on his community wall. Um, you know what I mean? So I believe that is directed towards Lemon. So that's what I think he was saying was that and everything. So that's all I know about that. But that situation's going went down and whatnot, and so the streets is saying that Lemon didn't go up there and support Five Babe, but she came to his channel. So that's the thing that's going on right now. You know what I'm saying? But hey, things go down sometimes. Now, uh, Reed did her live this morning, and if y'all didn't catch it, y'all can go back there and catch the replay, and make sure you hit her up with a like and whatnot. She said, I think Reed basically stated she ain't beefing with her and whatnot because she don't do fake beefs, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? Like she was like, I don't know what's going on necessarily with Five Babe and Reed right now because as it states, I don't think neither one are really fighting each other per se, if that makes sense. But the situation with Just Krista and Five may be heating up, y'all. So today we'll see if Just Krista comes back and says anything. I didn't catch if she did a live last night because y'all, I went to bed. I truly did. I was tired. I'm still tired this morning. I need another nap. And whatnot. Y'all. Guess what we're getting ready for? In 3 hours, they're gonna have the sentencing for Leilani Simon, y'all. Y'all know we've been watching the Leilani Simon case. So even if let's say, because usually my lives do go about 2 hours. But let's say I end and I come back. When the sentencing for Leilani Simon comes on, y'all know I'm gonna be covering that. Y'all know I'm gonna be covering that. So I'm right now checking on my true crime stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because I be looking um, for what's going on with my scary, my true crime, y'all. Let's see here. I'm gonna go to Court TV's website right quick, and we're gonna go over some of the. Hey, YouTube cameras, love. So I'm going over here. Girl, you didn't go live this morning, child. I was looking for your morning lives. You know I love your morning lives before I go live. I gotta catch them every morning. You know what I'm saying? I was looking for you. Been sick, girl. I know I heard that you was sick. I hope you feel better soon. I've been hearing it in your voice when you speak. That weather change just about got everybody, child. It got everybody. It got me. I've been hearing a lot of folks sick in these streets. Yeah, they did tell Susan Smith no yesterday. For y'all that don't know, she tried to get what is that, parole, and they told her, nope, you ain't getting no parole over here. Let me check their website. Cause and also the Chloe Driver case, we have a they found her guilty, y'all. But we're gonna read over all the stuff, and we're gonna go over the Chloe Driver case, okay? So we are gonna go over that. They did find her guilty, but they found her guilty by reason of insanity, but not that's not a not guilty, okay? I'm gonna go over what that really means. Oh, so you're gonna go later today? Okay, boo. Make sure you drink you plenty of tea and get you some vitamins, okay? Okay? Because I know that everybody been getting sick recently. And for everybody out there, I'm gonna tell y'all, I noticed that I could hear it in your voice. Like get you some lemon and honey in some tea and drink you some warm tea. Hey Roasty Toasty. That's my Roasty to the Toasty, y'all. It's one of my favorite truck drivers beside my super chat. Y'all been missing my super chat, in my shower and stuff. I know they on their little hiatus, but I miss them, y'all know. When I don't see them, I'll be like, where they at? Hey Roasty to the Toasty. But yes, get you some warm tea, girl, with some honey and some lemon in it and sip it. Maybe it'll help your throat. I've been noticing that it's been trying to get everybody this year. The allergies and all that stuff, it's been trying to get everybody sick this year. Mm. So I hope you feel better, boo. I just want you to know that. I don't like nobody being sick. I would say, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share the screen and we're going to look at the Chloe Driver cult baby murder case. Murder. There's this one dude who does true crime, speaking of which, who told me that I can say those words. Um, that as long as you're using, doing the whatnot. So also, I do want to add before I do this. Let me make sure, and then I'll switch back to scenes. I want to do my disclaimer right quick because this is what you got to do when you're a YouTuber. Um, Under the disclaimer for the copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is used permitted by copyright statute, but that might otherwise infringe. Because we're not going to infringe on nobody, right? Um, and we're using this for news reporting and purposes. And we're basically going over what's going on in these cases, right? We're looking at these cases. All right, so I'm going to go back to my screen share right quick and we're going to go over this situation. Now, I will say I do like Restream. I just wish that it would be better with some of my guests because technically speaking, Restream is better than StreamYard. Technically speaking, if it wasn't for the fact of what it does to some of my guests, because I didn't even have to reset. Like I can set up a studio for True Crime Thursday. I can set up a studio for Mod Monday, right? And all I have to do, I don't have to go in and change none of my scenes. It already has my thumbnail up. All I got to do is schedule the live. It's so simple. After you set it up, it's ready to go every single time. So you don't have to spend that 5 minutes to reset up after you do it the first time. I just realized that today. Now, I will say Lolo said she's going to buy Restream. And I don't know if it's difference between. I got the free version of Restream, right? So she's gonna have the paid version. I want to know if there's a difference between the paid version and the you know unpaid version. Now I will say Lolo's been sick, and so has Miss Lovejoy. Miss Lovejoy has been sick, or as some people might know her, the Lady of the Hour, or old school people know her as Lovejoy. She's been sick, so I want to say a prayer for them. Make sure. I hope y'all feel better if y'all see this. I know y'all ain't been feeling good. This weather done got y'all both sick. So I hope you both feel better. There's a lot of people right now out in our streets who are sick, and for all even our subbies that we may not know are sick right now, I hope you feel better. Get you some elderberry extract, some magnesium and zinc. I promise you it helps. That elderberry kept me from getting the C19. I'm telling you, all this pollen. And then you got to also think it's not just all that, right? For you, for us, it's fall, right? And so what happens during fall is when the leaves fall, right? And things are passing away and the leaves are dying. You get mold and mildew from that, right? And then you got to think if we're going from hot to cold, hot to cold, hot to cold, um, you know, and your seasonal allergies added with that, not a good combination. Me, myself, and I have indoor and outdoor allergies. So I'm just screwed all year round, y'all. I got to talk to my doctor to add. I take an allergy pill every day, but I got to talk to my doctor about getting something stronger because I take Singulair, which is one of the best on the market. It's just not enough this year. I don't know what it is. It's been bad this year. I swear. But let's get back to this. We're going to watch the verdict, y'all. They got her. They got her. First, I'm going to read the thing, and then we're going to watch the verdict, okay? A Tennessee woman has been convicted in Georgia for the stabbing death of her 13-month-old daughter. A jury found Chloe Driver, 24, guilty by mentally ill of all charges in December of 2020, death of her daughter, Hannah Driver. Chloe was convicted on charges of malice murder, felony murder, cruelty to children in the first degree. and aggravated assault. Sentencing is scheduled for December the 12th. While responding to a 911 call, police discovered Chloe and Hannah in the bedroom, both suffering from stab wounds. Prosecutors said Chloe stabbed Hannah in the neck multiple times with a knife. Chloe pled not guilty by reason of insanity, stating in court documents the defendant was in the midst of a psychotic episode that included paranoia, delusional beliefs, hallucinations, and disoriented thinking. In opening statements, prosecutors said Chloe was one of three women married to Benham Ben Michael, aka Brian Joyce, who lived a nomadic and religious polygamous lifestyle. Chloe's defense said those beliefs, coupled with mental illness, led her to psychosis that resulted in the death of her daughter. If you or someone you know is in a mental health emergency, text HOME to 741-741 to contact the National Crisis Text Line. If you or someone you know is having a maternal mental health crisis, know you are not alone, and you can get help by visiting Postpartum Support International. Okay, this is what has happened over the trial dates. We're going to start from one and scroll up. Okay. Okay. On day one of the trial, Katie Groper, Deputy Chief Assistant District Attorney, delivers the opening statements. Groper said that Chloe Driver is not a weak-minded person that does not meet the standard of criminal insanity. Prosecutors told jurors that Chloe Driver was not mentally ill when she decided to murder her 13-month-old daughter, Hannah Nicole Driver. Defense attorney Angela Threatway delivers the opening statement on behalf of Chloe Driver. Driver's defense attorney said that she was indoctrinated in a polygamous ideology by her 38-year-old boyfriend, Brian Joyce, who also goes by the name Benham Ben Michael, and suffered years of abuse. Driver took a paring knife from a butcher block in the kitchen of the home and grabbed her daughter, locked themselves in an upstairs bedroom where she committed the heinous act of murdering her daughter. Chloe Driver has entered a plea of not guilty by the reason of insanity during the time of the incident. Okay, we're going to scroll up to day two. In day two, a pediatric forensic pathologist told jurors that Hannah Nicole Driver succumbed to her injuries within minutes of being stabbed by her mother, Chloe Alexis Driver. Hannah suffered 4 stab wounds, 3 to her neck and 1 to her upper back. Jurors heard testimony from Jason Spillers, someone who was known to travel with Chloe Driver. He described Driver as a sweet and loving mother, but would transition in delusional and psychotic episodes and struggled with mental illness often. Chloe Driver was in the hospital 10 days following the incident before she told medical professionals she suffered from delusions. Before then, Driver asked questions about how long will she serve in prison and refused to go to physical therapy to learn how to walk again because she will be sitting in a jail cell. On day 3, jurors see video of Chloe Driver's interviews with police while in the hospital. While recovering from her injuries, she could only write her responses to the investigators' questions. Chloe Driver asked Detective Trina Cruz, who through a written note that the day after her daughter's death, how long will my prison sentence be for killing her? In another note, she wrote, I'm sorry I killed her. I should have stayed, referencing her parents driving to North Carolina to take her home. Detective Cruz said there is no evidence that someone else stabbed her daughter, Hannah Nicole Driver. Driver's mother emailed a video to Detective Cruz of Chloe Driver begging for help getting her daughter back from her child's father, Benham Ben Michael, aka Brian Joyce. Driver's mother thought it would be helpful to the case. Friday, from November 30th to December the 2nd, 2020, Chloe Driver searched how to snap a neck 2 weeks before the incident. She also searched for how to obtain a birth certificate for a baby and traveling with a baby. Chloe Driver made 617 jailhouse phone calls to Benham Ben Michael, Hannah's father, from February the 5th of 2021 to May 5th of 2023. On day 4, Chloe Driver stopped taking her medication 2 or 3 months before the incident involving her daughter Hannah. Forensic psychologist Dr. McClendon Garrett testified for the defense and diagnosed Driver with schizophrenia, delusions, and borderline personality disorder. Garrett said Driver became concerned with having a normal life for her daughter and described how she tried to obtain a birth certificate for Hannah. Driver told Dr. Garrett that Benham Ben Michael would not allow her to speak to anyone and monitor her phone calls with her parents. On day 5, Chloe Driver informs the court that she does not wish to testify in her murder trial. Chloe Driver's mother, Renee Driver, told jurors that she tried multiple times to convince her daughter to stay home and not to return to Benham Ben Michael. Jurors heard from a second psychologist who diagnosed Chloe Driver with schizoaffective bipolar type and borderline personality disorder. Benham Ben Michael's former partner, Gabriel Kirkendall, testified that she too met Ben Michael when she was 17 years old. He was 33 years old at the time. She suffered mental and physical abuse before she decided to leave Ben Michael for good. On day 6, the presentation of evidence is the guilty phase concluded on Tuesday. Jurors began to deliberate Tuesday afternoon and did not reach a verdict before they were sent home just after 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. An independent expert, Dr. Jacqueline Zaham, a forensic psychologist, testified that her findings would have led to a diagnosis Chloe Driver with bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder, consistent with 2 other psychologists who interviewed Driver following the crime. During the state's closing arguments, Assistant Deputy District Attorney Katie Groper said that Chloe Driver is not delusional and she is aware of her state of mind during the crime she committed against her daughter. Evidence shows that Driver had a presence of mind and understood the consequences of killing her daughter. Defense attorney Angela Threathway told jurors in her closing arguments that the events that led up to Hannah Nicole's death began with the undiagnosed and untreated mental illness, adding that there is evidence in the case that Chloe Driver was seeking help and was unable to distinguish right from wrong. Jurors heard 2 jailhouse phone calls between Driver and her mother, Renee Driver. The 2 discussed the large sum of money that Chloe obtained from a PPE loan and transferring money to Benham Ben Michael, Hannah's father. The jury finds Chloe Driver guilty by mentally ill on all charges in the death of Hannah Driver. So we're going to watch this video up here, and then we are going to watch some more of the evidence. Actually, I think I'll watch the evidence first, then we'll go back, because there is this one from this one. Let's watch this one right quick, and then we're going to watch the verdict. Oh, we got so many pop-ups. Let me pause this so we can go back to the beginning of this and unmute.
We're going to talk about an incident that occurred on November 25th of 2020, correct? All right, so you have to say yes or no because she's recording.
Yes. Sorry.
That's okay. You don't know Chloe Driver prior to that date, correct?
No.
All right, so let's talk about what happened in November of 2020. You, at that point in time, were living where?
In Fairview.
Okay, and where is that?
North Carolina.
Okay, where's that in relation to Asheville? What'd you guess?
Like 10 minutes from each other.
Okay, all right. So tell us what you saw on November 25th of 2020.
Well, I was driving down the road to go get some lunch, and I seen these 2 guys chasing a young girl. So they were right in the middle of the, like on the side of the road. I made a U-turn, came back. I wanted to see if she was okay because, I mean, she was running from them. And then they had got a hold of her and was dragging her back to the apartments that were right there.
Okay, was this a pretty busy intersection or area?
It's a 2-lane, so it's very small.
Okay.
It's busy usually at first thing in the morning, afternoon, school time, and then in the evenings.
But you were just driving down the road on your way to get lunch that day.
Yep, I was just cutting down that little road to go over to the Biltmore area to get lunch.
Okay. Is the young lady you saw running that day present, sitting over there?
I believe so. I mean, it all happened so fast.
Okay. And you said she was being chased by 2 men.
Yes.
Okay. And you remember what those men looked like, correct?
Oh, yes.
All right. Can you describe what they looked like?
Well, one of them in my opinion, looks like Marilyn Manson.
Okay.
And the other one was just a tall, blonde-headed guy. I mean,
Which one was chasing Miss Driver?
both.
Both of them.
Yes.
Do you recall which one actually physically grabbed her?
Well, they both were like on the side of her, like bringing her back, because I had pulled over into the apartments there, and she had both of them on the side of her.
Based on what you had seen driving down the road, that created some level of concern for you, correct?
Yeah, oh, yes, because I made a U-turn.
Okay, and then you came back and saw them struggling over her?
Yes.
Okay, and this
Mom takes the stand. Now, this witness, Renee Driver, opted out of being shown on camera, but we have her audio. Today, she told the jury that Chloe was the youngest of 3 kids, that there was a falling out of sorts. Chloe moved away, and then she saw her years later with Benjamin. She suspected that there was trouble and abuse in their relationship at one point in time, tried to help her escape that relationship. But on cross, the jury heard that even after Hannah was killed, Chloe, behind bars, wanted to be with Benjamin.
Did at any point in time, did you ever, based on what you saw with Chloe, ever think that she would harm Hannah?
Absolutely not.
Did you have any concerns that she would ever harm herself?
I didn't think about it at the time. But now that I look back at so much and remember things, possibly, yes.
So this, when you got that phone call from Canton Police, you were floored, correct?
Yes, I thought I lost my daughter and my granddaughter.
Okay.
Well, I did lose my granddaughter.
You had repeatedly tried to get Chloe to leave that situation and she refused, correct?
She didn't refuse. She wanted to, but there was no way out.
You're aware that after she killed Hannah, she continued to reach out to
Yes.
Brian and maintain a relationship with him, right? Do you understand that when she was reaching out to him, he could not access her physically and he could not call her? Are you aware that she made over 617 phone calls to him?
600? No, I was not.
Renee Driver ended her testimony by saying that she lives with regret each and every day, and she wishes that she had done more.
617 calls. That's incredible to hear, Matt. I want to ask you about a woman. I know she took the stand. We've heard about her throughout this trial. She was a bystander, but she got involved. She saw Chloe being chased by another man that we've seen on the stand, Jason Spiller, who told us a lot about this cult.
Yeah, someone that was outside of this cult world, so to speak, a key witness for the defense, really painting a picture of abuse, and was attacked, in fact, by the men in Chloe's life. Sandra Torres took the stand, telling the jury about an incident that happened in November of 2020. She was just driving down the street in South Carolina and witnessed Chloe Driver running from the men and screaming for help. Take a listen.
Chloe Driver, it's 11/27/2020. I am being forced to get into a truck with Benjamin Mikhail or Brian Joyce to see my daughter again because he has kept her away from me. I do not know where she is and he won't tell me anything. He's kept her with people that I don't really know well and I don't know what's going on with her. And I'm being forced to get in the car and go with him to be able to see her. And I don't even know if I'm actually going straight to her. But I'm doing whatever I think I can to get to her. Her name is Hannah Nicole.
So that was video taken by Chloe's mom of Chloe demonstrating how she wanted to be rescued. Now let's show you the video from the witness that I was just talking about, Sandra Torres. We have a picture of her, and this is what was shown to the jury. A picture of her face with major injuries after an attack by Jason Spillers. Spillers, as we know, testified earlier in the trial. Now let's play the soundbite of that attack, please.
She came around the vehicle and told me, "You don't know what you've done. You don't know what kind of trouble you've caused." And I was like, well, I didn't know what to say, but she was up in my face, like right here. Jason came around my vehicle yelling and screaming at me, and then boom, hit me right in the face.
And do you recall where Mr. Spiller specifically hit you?
Like, just boom, right in the whole, I mean, I didn't even see it coming. I wasn't expecting it. And so he just got me right in the side of the face.
Okay, and it was one punch that took you to the ground?
One punch.
What kind of medical care did you have to receive for this?
Well, so I stopped. I left the scene, drove myself, because they wanted to leave my vehicle there, and they wouldn't move my vehicle, and I didn't feel safe to have my vehicle sitting there. So I ended up leaving, went to urgent care right around the corner to have them look, and they told me this was an incident that I needed to go to the hospital for. Okay. So they actually went to Mission Hospital, and they got me in so quick, and they took x-rays of the face, and he had broken my eye socket.
Even after all that, that witness, Sandra Torres, says that she would intervene again, even though she was attacked like that. Very credible witness. She was not cross-examined. That was pretty interesting. Well, on the stand right now, remember there's a delay in the case, a psychologist talking about the cult beliefs, including that this group thought that there were only a few thousand people on the earth that were real people. Everybody else was fake. And of course, they were some of the real people.
Remember, maybe Jerry wasn't standing outside. I feel like these details are probably more or less irrelevant, but
So basically, you know, I do believe that this cult situation needs to be looked more into. But why didn't she go after the man and not her daughter? That's my question. If he was holding her hostage and the other dude was holding her hostage and they were doing all this, why didn't she go after them? Why did she go after her daughter? That is my question.
Takes the stand. Now, this witness, Renee Driver, opted out of being.
We have a verdict in the case against Chloe Driver, the young mother accused of killing her daughter, Hannah. 1-year-old little Hannah stabbed to death by her mother. She admits she did it, but the defense here was not guilty by reason of insanity. Will the jury buy it? Let's go into the courtroom and find out what the verdict is.
Thank you. You can be seated. Mr. Foreman, has the jury reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor.
Is it signed and dated by you as foreman?
Yes, it is.
All right, if you could give the verdict form to the bailiff, I will inspect it before I ask you to publish it. If you'll give that back to the foreman. Mr. Foreman, if you will stand, Ms. Driver and counsel, if you will stand, if you will read the jury's verdict, please.
For each count below, we, the jury, find the defendant, count 1, malice murder, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt but mentally ill. Count 2, felony murder, aggravated assault, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt but mentally ill. Count 3, felony murder, cruelty to children in the first degree, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt but mentally ill. Count 4, aggravated assault, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt but mentally ill. Count 5, cruelty to children in the first degree, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt but mentally ill. So found this 20th day of November 2024.
Thank you, sir.
So basically, I'm going to show y'all what that means by guilty by mentally ill, because I actually had to look that up. I've never heard that before. I've either heard people, saying they're guilty by, or they're not guilty by mental illness or whatnot. I've never heard that they can be found guilty by it. So this is what I looked up. This is by legal terminology, right? Guilty by mentally ill, meaning in law and law documents, right? The term guilty but mentally ill is a legal judgment that can occur in certain cases where a defendant claims they were not in control of their actions due to mental illness. The verdict acknowledges that while the person committed a crime, their mental state at the time of the offense was impaired. Instead of facing a traditional prison sentence, the individual is required to undergo mental health treatment. This approach aims to address the underlying issue related to their mental health rather than simply punishing them for their actions. When a court reaches a guilty by mentally ill verdict, it means that the jury or judge believes the defendant is responsible for their actions, but recognizes that their mental illness played a significant role in their behavior. The verdict is different from an outright not guilty due to insanity, which would mean that the person is not held responsible for their actions at all. Instead, the guilty by mentally ill ruling allows for a balance between accountability and the need for treatment. The individual may still face consequences, but these consequences focus on rehabilitation rather than punishment. In practice, this means that the defendant will typically be placed in a mental health facility rather than prison. The court will often require evaluation to determine the appropriate level of care and treatment needed. This can include therapy, medication, and other forms of psychological support. The goal is to help the individual manage their mental health issues, which may have contributed to their criminal behavior, and reduce the risk of reoffending in the future. It is important to note the specifics on how the verdict is applied can vary by state or region. Some areas may have more established procedures for handling cases involving mental illness, while others may not. This can affect how defendants are treated and what kind of support they receive. Understanding the local laws and resources available is crucial for anyone involved in such cases. Overall, the guilty but mentally ill verdict reflects a growing recognition of the importance of mental health in the legal system. It emphasizes that while individuals must be held accountable for their actions, there is also a need for compassion and support for those struggling with mental health challenges. This approach aims to create a more just and effective system that addresses both the needs of society and the individual involved. What are some examples of guilty but mentally ill in the legal contracts? The defendant was found guilty but mentally ill, leading to a sentence that includes mandatory psychiatric treatment. Mental health treatment plan is a part of the guilty but mentally ill verdict. The defendant must adhere to the outlined mental health treatment plan. In a plea bargain agreement, the defendant accepted the guilty but mentally ill plea to receive necessary mental health support. In a judicial order for evaluation, the court issued a judicial order for evaluation to determine the appropriate treatment for the guilty but mentally ill defendant. Probation agreement. The probation agreement stipulates that the guilty but mentally ill individual must attend regular therapy sessions. Mental health court document. The mental health court document reflects the verdict of guilty but mentally ill, emphasizing the need for ongoing treatment. Release conditions agreements. The release condition for the guilty but mentally ill defendant include compliance with mental health treatment requirements. Restoration of competency agreement. The restoration of competency agreement outlines the steps for the guilty but mentally ill individual to regain their legal rights through treatment. Now, I will state that as I was reading this, it said, can a person appeal a guilty but mentally ill verdict? Yes, they can appeal the guilty but mentally ill verdict. They may argue that the evidence was not sufficient to support their verdict of There were errors in the trial process. An appeal is legal progress where a higher court reviews the case. And this is how does mental illness affect the sentencing in a guilty but mentally ill case? Mental illness can influence the sentencing in a guilty but mentally ill case. While the person is still held accountable for their crime, the court may consider their mental health while determining the length of the sentence or the type of treatment they receive. The guilty but mentally ill verdict is not as common as other verdicts like guilty or not guilty. It is used in specific cases where mental illness is a significant factor in the crime, and it varies by jurisdiction. Various mental illnesses can lead to guilty by mentally ill verdict, including severe depression, schizophrenia, or bipolar disorder. However, the key factor is whether the illness affected the person's ability to understand their actions at the time of their crime. I also read that they can also get prison sentences in this, and that happened in Georgia. So let's look up Georgia laws found guilty by but mentally ill. I'm going to put murder charge behind it so that it says in Georgia, a person can be found guilty by mentally ill at the time of the crime. For example, a Cherokee County jury found a Georgia mother guilty in the dinner, but also determined that, and I think this is one for the books because I believe that this is one of the first times I've heard this in anything. So they also have another one called Hancock versus State. They decided that she was mentally ill, so that's another one. I would like to see what is going to be, because she did get found guilty on all charges, right? And it does state in here that a person who is, this means that they are held responsible for their actions but may receive treatment for their mental health issues while serving their sentence. So she could still get complete sentence for the situation. But this is where that goes. How severe is going to be her sentencing? And also on top of that, we have to look at, because they found it guilty but mentally ill, right? What is going to happen in this situation? Is she going to get sent home or get sent to a mental institution? Like she could get prison sentence while still getting, help or whatnot. Good morning, the DHAM Show. Good morning, Pinocchio. We're going over the Chloe Driver versus Georgia. She did get found guilty on all charges, but they found her guilty but mentally ill. So she did get charged with malice murder, felony murder, cruelty to children in the first degree, and aggravated assault. So, malice murder does carry, and felony murder, life sentences. They do carry that. But, when you say what sentences they carry, an assault, I think of that, and the children one could carry like 10, 15, 20 years, right? But the other two are usually life in prison. So will she have life in prison with mental health? Will she be eligible parole after so many years? Like, we don't know exactly what the sentence is going to be on that one, but on December the 12th, when that comes in, you best believe I'm going to be the first one trying to figure out what her sentencing is, because this is the first time that I'm hearing about, someone getting guilty but mentally ill thing. And they are going to be doing the sentencing for Leilani Simon today. So we're going to be watching that. We're going to right quick switch over and watch the Susan Smith parole hearing thing that Court TV put out. We're on their website right now. I'm going to read the thing to y'all first. But we are going to keep an eye on her guilty and what she gets from said thing. And we're going to figure that out. So let me go. Let me make sure I have this shared. Okay, we do. And I'm going to I'm going to make sure that I read this out to you. Columbia, South Carolina. All voting members of the South Carolina Parole Board denied killer mom Susan Smith's bid to be released from prison after serving 30 years. Smith appeared before the parole board for the first time after reaching eligibility. She was sentenced to life in prison in 1995 for killing her sons, 3-year-old Michael and 14-month-old Alex, by drowning them in the family car when she rolled into a lake. She said, "First of all, I want to say that I'm very sorry I am," Smith told the board, choked up tears. "I know what I did was horrible, and I would give anything if I could go back and change it. I loved Michael and Alex with all my heart." When the board asked Smith whether she had a message for those who searched for the boys after she initially lied and said they were kidnapped during a carjacking, Smith said, "I'm sorry that I put them through that. I'm especially sorry for the divers that had to find them. I wish I could take it back. I really do. I was just scared." Smith's attorneys, Tommy Thomas, spoke on her behalf at the hearing and told the panel, "It's a mental health story. It's about the dangers of untreated mental health. It's about the lack of insight, the lack of diagnosis into mental health, and it's about the stigmas." Thomas told the board that Smith had attempted to take her own life several times, both before she killed her children and while behind bars for the murders. Thomas said that part of Smith's motivation to appear at the hearing beyond seeking freedom was a desire to get the truth out, saying that the murders were not about the love of another man. At Smith's 1995 trial, prosecutors suggested that the reason she killed her children was because she was having an affair with a wealthy man who did not want children. But Thomas said that the motive was never proven at trial and was in fact abandoned by the state. Rather, Thomas said the murders were the result of multiple stress points that converged all at the same time, but did not offer any other further explanation. As for what she might do after leaving prison, Thomas told the board that Smith would like to work with animals and wants to live a quiet life. Tommy Pope, who prosecuted the case in 1995, spoke at the hearing and urged the board to keep Smith behind bars. While Pope has asked the jury to sentence Smith to death, the jury elected to spare her life and sentence her to life in prison. But Pope said the jurors didn't know that she would ever be eligible for parole. Susan has always focused on Susan, Pope told the board. The jury believes Susan should have to reflect on what she did to Michael and Alex, that she should have to spend the rest of her life thinking about what she's done. David Smith, Susan's ex-husband and the father of two boys, urged the panel to keep her in prison, saying the grief over losing his children nearly drove him to take his own life. "I understand back in 95 that the state's law meant life in prison meant 30 to life. Now that's different, but at the time, that's what counts. But ultimately, to me, it's only 15 years per child. Her own children, it's just not enough." Under South Carolina law, Susan will be eligible to appear for parole hearing every 2 years. David told the board he planned to see them in the future. "I will be here every 2 years going forward to ensure that their death doesn't go in vain." Let's watch this right quick, y'all.
I just need to confirm there is some other conversation. Is everything okay? Yes, ma'am. We are ready. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Hunter, if you can advise when the recording has begun.
The recording has begun.
Thank you. The time now is 11:41 a.m. We're resuming our hearings. Our next case will be case number 34. Case number 34, Susan Smith. One moment as Leith connects, and she does have supporters, and will be represented by attorney Tommy Thomas.
Thank you.
One moment as all parties connect.
Ms. Brown Hennerhan, I do have a statement that I need to read into the record, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I have received this correspondence. It is addressed to the Honorable Chair Kimberly Frederick, dated November 20th, 2024. Please be advised that I will recuse myself in the parole hearing of Susan Smith, number 221487. I was acting warden at Camille Brand Correctional Center in 1999, where inmate Smith was housed, and subsequently transferred to Leith Correctional Institution. I have determined that it is appropriate to recuse to eliminate any appearance of affecting her opportunity for parole. Respectfully, Geraldine P. Miro. Thank you, Mrs. Miro. This is accepted. If you would please exit the room. Thank you. Mrs. Miro has recused herself of this case and has exited the room. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have moved her site into the lobby briefly. And one moment as we admit all parties. There at Leith, ma'am, confirming you are Miss Susan Smith?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And Attorney Tommy Thomas, are you able to hear us?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Thank you. And there at the support site, confirm you are here in support of Miss Susan Smith?
They're asking, can you hear? Yes, we can hear.
And you're here in support of Miss Smith?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you all for joining. You are before the board. Please wait for the chairman to address you.
Good morning, Ms. Smith. Good morning, Mr. Thomas, and good morning to the folks at Watkins. Thank you all for being here with us today. We hope everyone is doing well. Ms. Smith, I want you to know that we have received the packet of information that Mr. Thomas's office provided to us on your behalf, and we have reviewed that packet. So thank you for submitting that in advance of this hearing today. Mr. Thomas, are you going to begin, or is your client going to begin?
Yes, ma'am, I'll be glad to begin.
Yes, sir.
Members of the board, good morning. This is Susan Smith's parole hearing. This has probably been one of the most difficult cases that I have had to put together for a parole presentation. Just lots of different factors to consider. She's been convicted of murder, of course. She has served 30 years, and she was 23 at the time that this incident occurred. She was sentenced to life with the eligibility of parole, so that's why she is here today. I'm not really going to speak much about the crime. There are some things that I want to cover, and that's not out of disrespect. We were very concerned about that. Today is Susan's parole hearing, and so today is going to be about Susan, and I want to make sure that the thing.
Hey, Nene Love, we're watching some stuff on True Crime right now because it's True Crime Thursday, and this has to deal with Susan Smith's parole hearing. Now, I don't like what that lawyer just said. We're here to talk about Susan today. No, her two boys aren't here anymore, and we're babies. 14-month-old, and that's just like no thank you. The victims do matter in this situation. They were babies, and you can't gloss that over. I'm sorry.
Things that are important not only to her but to this hearing and this board are presented, and I want to thank you in advance for your time to listen to everything. This story is really a mental health story. Some of this stuff, I've known Susan for a couple of years, and we've been working on this case. one of the things when I first met her was, of course, trying to kind of figure out some rhyme or reason as to, how these things have happened, and was able to find and have someone come to see her on a routine basis for counseling, and also to try to help her, through the daily things with the Department of Corrections. As a result, that's kind of what I came to the conclusion was it is a mental health story. It's about the dangers of untreated mental health. It is about the lack of insight, the lack of diagnosis into mental health. And it's about stigmas, old stigmas. Of course, I'm 68 years old. I remember those. Hopefully they're not as bad today. Susan was hospitalized as a young teen for a short period of time for mental health treatment. And not to disparage anybody, but her mom was telling folks that she was in the hospital because she had a strep infection. So those were things that we didn't talk about. Those were things that were pushed under the rug, so to speak, because they were embarrassing. They showed weakness. I don't know what they showed, but they showed up and culminated in Susan as a result of a day that all of this came together and produced some horrendous results. So I think it's important to Susan, if anything comes out of this hearing, it's that people understand there's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing and no reason not to reach out and seek treatment. And there is certainly no stigma that should be involved in trying to better yourself and help yourself for yourself and for others, members of the family and everyone. Susan, moving on, Susan is a high school graduate. She has some college with USC Union. She has attended International Christian College, and she's worked on an associate's degree. She's still actually working on that in Christian counseling. She has no prior record that I'm aware of. If paroled, she would be living with her brother, Scotty Vaughn. Scotty is here today and very briefly wanted to address the board. The job for her, she has served 30 years, so she's been in the Department of Corrections for a long time, would be through vocational rehab. The PEP program is probation and parole, would know it. And we have made arrangements for aftercare with a licensed mental health professional. You have that information in the packet that's been provided to you. Some of the programs, I took the time to look at everything, to look at the programs that she's been involved in, and I'm not going to speak about all of those because you have those in the packet. The ones that I think are important and relevant today is the self-harmers group. She has attempted to commit suicide on several different occasions within the Department of Corrections. 7 Habits, Beyond Abuse, Jumpstart, which she is a great fan of. She does not have a drug or alcohol addiction, thank goodness. She has been active on Innovo and the CipherWorks programs, Loss and Grief, healing seminars, women's empowerment, anger management, self-esteem, and domestic violence workshops. I normally, and I've presented a number of parole hearings, I first started with this thinking that it had to be different than normally what I would do as far as a presentation. And I came to the conclusion maybe this week, and it doesn't. I think it is, and I will stick with what I would normally do as far as the structure of my presentation. What I always begin with the board is contributing factors because I believe that's important. We need to know what was going on, why it was going on, for the board to be able to make a informed decision about her parole expectations and her parole eligibility. and what kind of candidate she is for parole. One of the things that has jumped out at me, and I saw this last night in the media, and I know that Susan wants to speak, and because she feels like it's important to get the truth out there, is this is not about the love for another man. I saw it on local TV about how this was all about another man and him not wanting children. From what I have been able to determine, that is just not true. I have spoken with David Bruck, who was a defense attorney on a number of different occasions. David has been a great source of information in regards to Susan. He indicated to me that this was a theory of a motive by the state. That's where we think it developed. However, this was never proven at trial, and it was actually abandoned by the state. So, but it has stuck. And I just wanted to, I know it's important to her to bring this to your attention. The contributing factors in this case were multiple stress points. They converged all at the same time. And we are certainly not trying to say anything about, the horrificness of this crime. It is, and she was found guilty. But we're trying to kind of maybe present to the parole board how these things developed and how it's possible that something like this could happen. One of the things that has been important in her life, and I think is a huge contributor to this crime, is the suicide of her dad at age 6. Horrific, just horrific. And she blamed herself. How could he leave me? And I think it sets the stage for the beginning of some serious mental health issues, some serious depression, which just kind of culminates and continues to snowball. And the lack of, recognition and treatment for this issue with her dad. I mean, it was like the old stigma of, we just tough through these terrible situations, and that's how it's done. It's not done that way. There were some attempts to get some sort of psychological help for her after a couple of suicide attempts, and never went anywhere. She was the child. The adults in the picture did not. Can't blame them. I think it was the times. Did not seek and try to understand the depth and the significance of this and what it was going to produce at a later date. Severe depression. Potentially depression after the birth of her last child, which was also undiagnosed, and that postpartum depression that existed in a severe situation. Just in culmination, and I apologize for reading something to the board, but I've looked at so much material, and if I can beg the board's attention for a few minutes, I would like to say this and read this because I think it summarizes everything that I've been talking about and everything that Susan wanted to talk about what happened. She said to me, and this was not in preparation for parole, I found this buried in a bunch of documents that had been provided to me, and it is from Susan. And she says, I believe this is what happened to me on October 25th, 1994. I lost touch with reality. My thoughts were not rational nor logic. I don't think I understood that if I allowed this car to go into the lake, that I would never see my children again. The finality of it was not real to me because my thoughts were so screwed up at the time. My mind, I thought, was doing what was best for them. I knew Jesus would take better care of them than I could. It was truly a moment of insanity. There are no easy explanations and not much understanding how can you make sense of something that is senseless? And I think that shows the remorse that she's had. She's lived with this for forever since this thing. When I first met her and I would go and see her, remorse is difficult. You know, that's something with the parole hearings that I've presented for years, is to how do you say, how do you demonstrate remorse? People do it in different manners. And I always look for that. I always ask my clients, you know, and look for the remorse. I could see the pain on her face. It was so difficult. Talking about things were extremely difficult. And not because she didn't want to talk about them, it's just because it was so hard, was going to consider to promote this.
The night that you murdered your children?
No, ma'am, I was not. Yeah.
Thomas, and we appreciate all
Yes,
your
ma'am.
comments.
Thank you.
And again, thank you for the very detailed packet that you presented. Ms. Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
what would you like to tell us today?
First of all, I want to say how very sorry I am.
It's okay, Susan. Just talk with us.
I know that what I did was horrible. And I would give anything if I could go back and change it. And I love Michael and Alex with all my heart.
Ms. Smith, were you under the influence of drugs or alcohol the night that you murdered your children?
No, ma'am, I was not.
Your attorney talked about working with mental health. Is that helpful to you?
Ma'am?
Mr. Thomas,
I hear you.
Mr. Thomas talked about the fact that you were working with mental health, and my question is that helpful to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that something that you would be willing to continue with on the outside if you were granted parole?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Smith, your crime took a lot of resources from the law enforcement community. What, if anything, would you say to the folks who worked so hard to find your children if you had the opportunity to speak to them today?
That I'm sorry that I put them through that. I really, really am. And I'm especially sorry to the drivers that I had to find them. I wish I could take that back. I really do. I didn't lie to get away with it. I really didn't. I was just scared. I didn't know how I could tell the people that loved them that they would never see them again. I didn't know how I could tell David he couldn't see his son again. And I'm sorry. I don't know. I know that's not enough. I know it's not, but I don't know. I know that's just sound like words, but they come from my heart. They really do.
Right. One of the things that we review is your institutional record, and you've had some infractions throughout the years, some involving the use of some narcotics. Do you have any issues with drugs or alcohol at this point?
I don't. No, ma'am, I don't.
And you had a recent disciplinary infraction just a few months ago. So why should this board think that if we grant you parole that you're going to go out and follow the rules and the laws of society if you do not follow the rules within the institution?
Well,
I don't think I can watch more of this because this right here is going to tick me off. I'm just going to say that. Have y'all noticed that as she's speaking, she said, I didn't know how to tell David he couldn't see his boys anymore. I'm sorry to the people who had to find them. Like, you're not sorry and sad that you lost your children, that you did this to your children? Like, speaking of them as if they weren't real, if that makes sense. Like, they're not a part of, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it just feels impersonal, like you didn't really care about your kids and stuff like that to me. So far, but what I'm like, you're only crying because you got caught. You're only crying because you're in jail, and you still had infractions and drug use and all this other stuff while you're in jail, right? But the way you're sounding does not sound like somebody who actually is sad that they off to their own kids. Like, you're sorry to you know, you were scared, so you didn't know how to tell somebody that you did it. Like, you're more worried about yourself. Like, you're not up here boohooing, you know, I have to live without my children for the rest of my life. I did this and I have to live with this. I didn't hear. Let's see if we hear this out of her mouth, because I want to hear her, and then I'm probably going to skip over some things. This is 2 hours, and we're not watching the whole 2 hours, y'all. But we also are going to go over to the Jose Barra trial, Ibarra, because his trial's over. You know, we talked about it last week. Now the Brian Culper case, that's scheduled for in August of 2025. So it's a little ways out, but they did say that they are looking for the death penalty for him. So he's the one that murdered the 4 college students or whatnot. But we're gonna listen to a little bit more of this.
this last infraction, I was trusted the wrong person. This lady contacted me and I trusted her. I thought she was going to do a documentary on mental health, and I really am not guilty of what they charged me with, and I have filed an appeal on that charge. And as far as your question, I've never been in trouble before, and the things that I have been found guilty of in here have been just stupidity. I know I made a lot of mistakes in here, and I have learned from them. And before this last infraction had been 10 years, because I grew up and I knew that I needed to stop making dumb decisions, and I did. I knew it was time to grow up and do the right thing. I just made a lot of dumb choices and mistakes in here. So I know I've learned from those mistakes.
What do you feel is the most...
But how old are you fucking now to say you just needed to grow up and you're still doing it? How old are you now? Like, you're fucking older than me. Come on now. Y'all, this lady's pissing. This lady is making me mad. Oh, good morning, Tay-Bay, my love. Hey, Miss Catherine. Hey, everybody coming in. I love you, my QQ. I know you in the crack clouds. Much love. We do miss you, boo.
And I'm not
One
going to
thing
do
that
that.
you've learned while you've been incarcerated.
Ma'am,
What do you think is the most important thing that you have learned while you have been incarcerated?
that people are important, that forgiveness and love, that family is important, and that decisions we make not just affect us, they affect the people that we love. And not to take things or people for granted.
All right. right. Is there anything else that you would like to tell us today that wasn't in your packet or that has not already been said?
I would just like to say that I am a Christian and God is a big part of my life, and I know He has forgiven me, and it is by His grace and mercy that, and I have a lot of faith and I live by that every day. And I just ask that you show that same kind of mercy as well.
I'm just to skip past her, and we're gonna go watch something else. We're gonna skip past her and see about the daddy when he comes up. Because I'm gonna tell you this: you using God for your foolishness? No, ma'am. You're not. When they asked you, is there anything else that you could have said? You could have stated, "I miss my children. I went through that moment and I snapped, and for the rest of my life, I have to deal with this." And now I'll never get to see my kids grow up. They won't have first laughs, first day of kindergarten, first day of high school, graduation, and so much that I took from them, and I took from my family, and I took from their father and myself. And for the rest of my life, I have to realize that my children are no longer here with me because of myself. But no, you're more worried about saying, I'm a Christian now. If y'all could forgive me, because it's all about me. Shut up, bitch. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. My crazy just came out. Y'all know, I want to slap this hoe all upside the head right quick and knock her out just a little bit. I'm just saying. She getting on my nerves. That hoe getting on my nerves. I got to see what the daddy got to say, because I ain't worried about her ass. No more. I don't want to hear about the people speaking for her. I don't give about none of that shit. I want to go see what the daddy says. This is David Smith, Kevin Brackett, former prosecutor. Let's see. David Smith's aunt and uncle. Let's see. David Smith's wife, David Smith's doctor, David Smith's victim. Okay, I want to start with the aunt and uncle and go on about that and see what the family say. Because screw that hoe.
Susan betrayed us and took the lives of those boys and then lied about it for days. When she did this, she destroyed a trust in me that I've never regained. And as a result, I do not develop close relationships with others easily, in particular females. Anxiety and depression have plagued my life for years. I push it away during spring and summer as best possible, but it always creeps back up around Alex's birthday when it rolls around in August, because I know Michael's won't be far behind in October. And then the anniversary of their death on the 25th. Because in my mind, I always refer to this period of time as the sad months. Throughout my career, the majority of any time missed at work is around Michael and Alex's birthdays and the anniversary of their death. I stay in bed and sleep to deal with the depression. It's just easier this way, or at least it seems to be. Something as simple as taking up a new hobby turned into a nightmare for me last year. My boyfriend and I decided to take scuba diving lessons. I geared up with all the equipment, face mask on, oxygen tank on my back, stepped off the side of the pool into 15 feet of water and immediately sank to the bottom from all the weight I was carrying. Normally you'd remember to breathe and begin to ascend as I had studied for all the weeks leading up to that point, but nothing prepared me for dropping into a body of water and the feeling of being weighted down, unable to breathe, and seeing Michael and Alex's face. I immediately panicked, ripping off my face mask, sucking in water, and not being able to come to the surface from all the weight I was carrying. I was drowning, and I knew in that moment that was the closest I'd ever come to knowing what my nephews had endured and how horrific and scared their last moments had to have been. Something as simple as taking up a new hobby was yet one more thing Susan was taken from me. In over 25 years, I have found myself finding comfort going to the cemetery where the boys are buried, beside our older brother. I go there often and I will tidy up their graves, where people have left trinkets or gifts, and I talk to them. I go there when I'm happy, I go there when I'm upset, rainy days, sunny days. cold days and hot days, it doesn't matter. It brings me peace just being there. But as a result, I'm not able to bring myself to move away from Union County because now I don't want to leave them. We have missed Michael and Alex's kindergarten graduations, numerous birthdays, birthday parties, summer vacations, Easters, along with annual Easter egg hunts at Meemaw's, Thanksgivings, Christmases, football, soccer, baseball games, proms, high school graduations, possible marriages, and births of their own children. We don't know because they never had a chance. They never had a chance to live a life of their own. Susan took that from them. She took that from us all. And now she wants a chance to be free after only serving 30 years. No. Life should mean life. So I'm respectfully asking you to please deny her request for parole. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I apologize if I get a little bit emotional. I drove down from Detroit on Monday night, which was Halloween before of that week. And a young man, middle-aged man then, I'm an old man now, but the boys never got to. As Becky said, they missed a lot. They missed their life. Today they would be in their 30s. David would probably be a granddad. The boys were still here. I took my sister out to the lake yesterday, and it's a beautiful drive out there. I was just thinking, all that time she had time to change her mind, to stop and turn around and not go through with it, but she did. And then the boys were gone. A year later, I came back down for the trial. Tommy Pope did a good job. They proved that she was guilty. During the sentencing trial, they came back and recommended life. Tommy had argued for the death penalty. The family was for death penalty. They come back and recommended life. But we said, well, we'll live with it. You know, she'll have to live with it every day for the rest of her life. So we were satisfied with life, but we do not want a parole. We were against any parole for her. And then two other items going back 30 years, the Friday morning after apologize. But the Friday morning after, David, his dad, my brother's wife, and I, the four of us, were sitting at Holcomb Funeral Home in Union and discussing the funeral arrangements. David asked to see the boys, and Mr. Holcomb had a funny look on his face, and he said, "Mr. Smith, could I see you?" So we went out, and he said, "You know, your nephew can't see the boys." And he told me why. He said, "You know, the boys were in the water for 9 days." So I went back and told David, I said, "You know, it's better that you don't see the boys." And I think deep down he understood why. The next day, Saturday, three of us, David, his dad, and I went out to the Bougainville United Methodist Church Cemetery and to look where the boys are going to be buried. And David's brother, Danny, who had died 3 years earlier, was buried there. David wanted his boys buried next to his brother, their uncle. But the way the cemetery is laid out, there was no room for the boys to be put next to Danny. So I found the cemetery custodian and asked him if it were possible to move Danny. And he said, well, yes, if that's what the family wants, we can move Danny. So I went back and saw my brother. Said, you know, David wants the boys to be next to their uncle. Would you have a problem if we moved Danny? And he said no. So if you go out to the cemetery, you'll find that Danny and the boys are side by side.
Does anyone else wish to speak?
Yes, I'll go, please.
Yes, ma'am.
So as David's wife, I have stood by him for the last 30 years and watched his pain, his suffering, his dark days that you cannot imagine. It's been hard as a loving wife to stand back and watch him suffer the pain that he has gone through. To not want to get out of bed some days. To not be able to get out of bed. Because the pain was so much for him. And for 30 years we had thought this day would never come. But yet here we are. I don't feel that it's time for her to be let out because she took 2 lives. She didn't just take 1. She took 2 precious little boys that we haven't been able to watch grow up. And as Becky stated earlier, all the things that we've missed out on because of them not being here, all the things they missed out on growing up in and doing. And for her to be in prison for the last 30 years, you would think that she would have thought about what she's done. She would have said, I'm sorry. But she hasn't said, I'm sorry. She hasn't even called him. She hasn't even told him she was sorry. Much less the world. For 9 days, all I can think about is how much she lied and manipulated everybody. The whole world. I watched it and believed her myself. I wanted her to be telling the truth. But to be betrayed by her lies. And that just makes me feel like if she could do that then, whatever she's told you today, I'm sure were probably lies as well. Because she has shown in her last 30 years what she does in prison. She's all about herself. It's all about what she can do to make her life better. And Michael and Alice didn't get a chance at life. They were forced the death penalty. She took that from them. The lives of this family has been forever changed. It caused us to be a little overprotective of our now daughter. A little bit more than we probably should have been. Because we were afraid something might happen to her. It's changed the way we look at life. It's changed the way that we look at everybody. Who can I trust? For a long time, I didn't trust a lot of people. I had to be careful, around certain people. I didn't know if I could trust them or not. all because of her lies. So to help give this family some peace, it would be best if Susan stayed behind bars and stay in prison for the rest.
Committee? It's been a tough 30 years. I'm not here to speak about.
This is the father of the children, y'all, and I think his words mean and hold more than anybody else's words, in my opinion, because he's had to go the rest of his life without seeing his boys. Hey, sweet tea, to be able to grow up, to have children. Like they said, they'd be 30 years old right now. How many things did this father have to miss out on because that mother was trying to get with a new man, and the new man didn't want to have kids, and she was so selfish. Instead of just giving the children to the father, right? At this point, just give the kids to the dad. Don't do this to the innocent children.
What she's done in prison, you all have the records and accounts of all that. I'm just here to advocate on Michael and Alex's behalf and as their father. You know, God gives us free choice. And she made free choice that night to end her life. This wasn't a tragic mistake. It wasn't something that she didn't mean to do. She purposely meant to end her life. I never have felt any remorse from her for it. She's never expressed any to me. I never seen it on paper. No, you've heard, she changed my life for the rest of my life that night. Some for the better, some for the worse, but what she did, not only to Michael and Alex, she came pretty close to causing me to end my life because of the grief that she brought upon me. But thankfully she didn't. I understand back in 95 that through the state's law, life in prison meant 30 years to life. And now that's different, but at that time, that's what counts. I understand that. But ultimately, to me, that's only 15 years per child. Her own children. It's just not enough. So I'm asking that you please deny her parole today. And hopefully in the future, but specifically today. Not let her out. I miss them very much. And I love them very much. And I will be here every 2 years going forward to ensure that their death doesn't go in vain. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Smith. Again, please know how very, very sorry this board is to all of you for all the pain that this crime caused you. But we sincerely appreciate you all being here with us today. Thank you very much. And thank you for the reminder with the picture of Alex and Michael. They were beautiful children. So thank you for reminding us of that today. We wish you the very best. And if no one else has anything else that they would like to say, if you all will exit with these ladies over here, we'll have an answer for you shortly.
Let's get started. My name is Anita Dantzler. I'm the Public Information Director with the South Carolina Department of Probation, Parole, and Pardon Services. We are holding this press conference to provide further explanation of the parole hearing process. First, I'd like to introduce my acting director for the agency, Jody Gallman, who will speak today. And then I'd like to also introduce Associate Deputy Director for Paroles, Pardons, and Release Services, Valerie Suber, who will also be speaking with you today. Okay? So, first, Acting Director Gallman.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. First, I want to thank the entire executive management team. But behind me, you have some of the executive management team and some of the senior managers in the department. Secondly, I want to thank the department staff for everything that they do during the course of the year, and especially for the parole hearings and the pardon processes that we have in place. I want to give a special thanks to the Paroles, Pardon, and Release Services Division. Without that staff, the hearings could not take place. And next, for today, I want to especially thank what we are calling the Special Operations Team. Those were the different folks that you saw today in the uniform. Some just had their little badges on them, but that entire team of putting the work together for today. And lastly, I just want to thank the Parole Board. The Parole Board has difficult decisions that they have to make, as you witnessed some of the decisions that were made today. So we want to thank them for their services. And now we'll hear from Deputy Director Suber.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. As stated, my name is Valerie Suber. I am the Associate Deputy Director for Paroles, Pardons, and Release Services. I'd like to first say thank you to Court Television for providing live streaming services today and for highlighting the parole process in the state of South Carolina. In South Carolina, we schedule roughly 3,000 inmates every year for parole consideration. Today, inmate Susan Smith, SCDC number 221487, was denied parole. This was by a unanimous decision of the board. One board member did recuse herself from this vote. The reasons for denial were identified as follows, and we could get this on the screen behind you is a graphic. The nature and seriousness of the current crime. Her institutional record is unfavorable. The inmate will be notified of the disposition of this hearing, as well as the reasons for rejection. Inmate Smith will be eligible again for parole consideration in 2 years. Thank you.
Okay, do you have any questions? Yes.
Being that the reasons for her parole being denied were nature and seriousness of current offense and institutional record, does that mean when she comes back in 2 more years, the nature and seriousness of the current offense will be the reason that she's denied again? Like, will she just get denied for this next times that she comes?
I can't speak as to what will happen. It is a reason for denial, and the board may use that reason again in 2 years, yes.
And could they not use it? Like, could they decide to not look at the nature and seriousness of the current offense?
The board is an autonomous decision-making body. They make their decisions independent of this agency. They do have the discretion to grant parole as they see fit. So it is at their discretion that they grant or deny, and the reasons that they grant or deny are at their discretion as well.
Valerie, what was the nature of the conflict of the board member that excused herself or himself?
I have that statement here for you, and I will read it for you again as it was read onto the record. Be advised that I will recuse myself in the parole hearing of Susan Smith, number 221487, I was acting warden at Camille Graham Correctional Center in 1999, where inmate Smith was housed, and subsequently transferred to Leith Correctional Institution. I have determined that it is appropriate to recuse to eliminate any appearance or affecting her opportunity for parole, and it is signed respectfully, Geraldine P. Miro, board member.
And we have a question here.
She actually just asked it.
She asked it? Okay. Anyone else have a question?
I noticed, thank you. I noticed that all of the parole hearings, all of the decisions were actually rejected. Is that normal?
Our parole rate for violent crimes is currently 8%. So there is not a high parole rate in South Carolina currently. So I guess in essence, that is pretty typical.
Another question? Yes.
Are there supposed to be 7 parole board members?
Yes, the board consists of 7 members appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Senate. We do have 1 vacant seat that has been vacant since 2022. So that vacancy is not considered in the quorum. And then Ms. Miro recused herself, so there were 5 voting members in this hearing.
Why is that seat vacant?
Because the governor appoints and the Senate confirms, and that hasn't happened.
In recent years in the state of South Carolina, has there been an inmate who was granted parole with the seriousness of this nature of the crime?
Inmates have been granted parole who committed murders, and there are inmates currently on parole for life sentences, yes.
Any other questions? Yes.
Okay, so we know she got denied parole. Hey, that was awesome because I don't like that hoe. But anyway, the Beef Sector Podcast. Hey, how you doing? Good morning. But yeah, so I did get a little hot under the collar when that lady was talking because she wasn't even thinking about what she did, right? And I can't stand that stuff. So right now we're gonna switch over to. We were checking this out last week. The Georgia versus Ibarra case in the Laken Riley. He did get found guilty of her murder for Laken Riley and has been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. We're going to sit here and go down. So we're going to go from day one. Okay. On day one of the trial, Special Prosecutor Sheila Ross told the judge Laken Riley fought for her life and her dignity. When Jose Ibarra attempted to grape her, defense attorney Dustin Kirby said that the evidence against Ibarra is circumstantial. Laken Riley's roommate each took the stand to testify. Lily Steiner described growing concern about the victim and using the Find My Friends app to find her phone. Steiner became emotional on the stand when her 911 call was played. Sophia Magna said that she took her dog on a walk towards the location where the Find My Phone Friends app showed Riley's last location. And while on the trail, Magna found a single white AirPod on the ground, which she said she identified as Riley's because notable earwax on it. Conley Huth described Riley as an avid runner who was good with both speed and distance. Her testimony focused on the victim's tendency to wear form-fitting running tights above her navel. Kenneth McGreedy, a training coordinator for the Athens-Clarke County 911 Center, testified to a 911 call from Riley's phone on February the 22nd, 2024. The enhanced audio features noises in the background, but no voices. The call was ended by the caller's phone. When the dispatchers attempted to call back, they got no answer. University of Georgia Police Sergeant Kenneth Maxwell took the stand and described finding Laken Riley's body using the screenshots of where the victim's roommates had tracked her phone. Her body was found at least 50 foot away from the trail. Maxwell said that the victim had clear trauma to her head and was stiff when he found her. He said it appeared her shirt had been pushed above her breast, the waistband of her pants was below her navel, and her underwear was bunched above it. Georgia Bureau of Investigation Special Agent Daniel Stewart, a crime scene specialist, spoke to the bloody rocks and a bloody tree cutting that were taken from the scene as evidence. The judge was also shown the clothes that were cut off Riley's body. Stewart said after approximately 5 hours, they found Riley's phone, which had a fingerprint bridge detail on it. Photos of Jose Albera after he was taken into custody on February 23rd, 2024 show that he had injuries to his hands and scratches to his neck and upper body. Athens Clarke County Police Officer Zachary Davis described taking part in the search for evidence after Riley's body was found. Body-worn camera video showed Davis retrieving a jacket with blood on it from a dumpster. University of Georgia Police Lieutenant Daniel Saunders testified that he recovered a white styrofoam cup off the main road with liquid inside that smelled like alcohol. Day 2 of the trial. We're going to go read the day 2. Body cam video is played in court that shows police officers questioning Jose Albera about scratches on his body. Data collected from Riley's iPhone showed her heart rate reached 170 beats per minute, slowed, came to a dramatic stop, and hit 0, then spiked, indicating she underwent CPR. Prosecutors rested their case Tuesday. Crime lab scientist Ashley Hinkle said the DNA from the blue jacket was found under Laken Riley's fingernails matched Jose Albera. Dr. Michelle DeMarco said that a portion of Laken Riley's skull had been broken and noted lacerations and contusions to her body. Both sides delivered closing arguments on day 4. Judge H. Patrick Haggard finds Albera guilty of all charges. Albera was given the maximum sentence on each count. Count 1, malice murder, life without the possibility of parole. Count 2, felony murder, vacated as a matter of law. Felony 3, murder, vacated as a matter of law. Count 4, felony murder, vacated as a matter of law. Count 5, kidnapping with bodily injury, life in prison, consecutive to count 1. Count 6, aggravated assault with the intent to rape, 20 years to serve, consecutive to count 5. Count 7, aggravated battery, merges with count 1. Count 8, obstruction or hiding a person making an emergency telephone call, 12 months consecutive to all other time. Count 9, tampering with evidence, 12 months consecutive to all other time. Count 10, peeping Tom, 5 years consecutive to count 6. So basically he got life, but we're going to watch this video right quick. So basically the evidence they found that was really the nail in his coffin, to tell you the truth, was underneath her fingers they found where she had scratched him. So they had DNA evidence underneath her fingernails where she scratched him. And that's how they linked him to the crime. They also found that he had the marks on his neck. So with both the DNA under the fingernails and the fact that he had the, scratches on his neck, that's how they found him guilty. Basically, he tried to rape this lady and killed her. Hey, Miss Wise Eyes, we're going to watch this. And then I am right now, while we're watching this, going to see if they've come with the sentencing for Leilani, the Leilani Simon case. Uh-oh. Is it not I thought this was, okay.
But for now, we're getting some breaking news out of Georgia. We have been following the murder trial and the death of Laken Riley. Jose Ibarra is the defendant there, and the judge has been deliberating. Let's go in live with his decision on this case.
You may have seen me. I make notes during the trial. I probably filled up 2 legal pads full of notes during the trial, but the closings, I want to just listen, and that's what I did. But I wrote down 2 things in the closing. One was a statement by Ms. Ross that the evidence was overwhelming and powerful. And then I also wrote down what Ms. Beck said, that I'm required to set aside my emotions. That's the same thing that we tell jurors in what, and we give them their job. I would, that's the way I have to approach this. And I did. Both of those statements are correct. I'll now announce the verdict. in the state of Georgia versus Jose Antonio Ibarra, case SU 24CR0323, count 1, malice murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 2, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 3, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 4, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 5, kidnapping with bodily injury. I find the defendant guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault with intent to rape. I find the defendant guilty. Count 7, aggravated battery. I find the defendant guilty. Count 8, obstructing or hindering a 911 call. I find the defendant guilty. Count 9, tampering with evidence. I find the defendant guilty. Count 10, peeping Tom. I find the defendant guilty. I certainly will allow both sides to look at this if you want to do it. The next step is sentencing. I'm prepared to go forward with that now, or if either side suggests that you need a few minutes, an hour break or something to do that, then I'll certainly do that as well. Consider that.
May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
Last thing that may come after that is
I understand.
We'll come back for something.
I understand. We will recess till 12:30. Recess till 12:30. Will that work?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Judge Patrick Haggard delivering his verdict. They are guilty of all charges for Jose Ibarra. Justice served for Laken Riley, that 22-year-old nursing student who was just jogging, who was minding her own business that day when the prosecution says she was hunted down. A man who just wanted to hunt females.
With this trial here, we also have the fact of, that he was an illegal immigrant here. So, where people have been, that's been a hot topic recently. This person was an illegal immigrant that was not here legally, and he raped and murdered a woman who was doing nothing but going to school for nursing, and she was out there jogging, just doing her own thing, not bothering nobody. You know what I'm saying? The Leilani Simon case, the sentencing is going to be in an hour and 17 minutes. So right now I'm going to try to see what else is on here. I may come back with that in a video for the sentencing for her. But I do want to specifically see the sentence for her, because that's been a case that we all followed. It's very, we followed that one very hardcore. And right now I'm looking to see if there's, let's see. Now, somebody was talking to me about the hot car death of the 2-year-old. There's a trial date set, plea offer in the works. He's talking about taking a plea deal. That one's not started yet. That's why I have not covered it yet on that one. Now, there may be a different one that someone else is talking about, but that one I have not went over because of that. But we do know that even if we don't have the video right here, that Ibarra was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. And he got, basically he's never getting out of prison. So that's a good thing. No other women will be hurt by this man. because, that was just crazy. So now we have another trial here that they're looking at. It's I think this is Massachusetts, I believe. MA would be, Massachusetts. Versus Brian Camp, the jealous ex who shot dead trial is the name of this one. So we're going to check this one out right quick over here on Court TV on their website. If you haven't, this is one of the best places to go check out, true crime and what's going on in the world. It's called courttv.com. And they have all the cases up there. It said it took police 19 minutes to arrive. The recording is a play-by-play of the fighting and timing of the two gunshots. We're going to play the video. Well, I'm going to read you like I always do, the reading. So here we go. Northampton, Massachusetts. A Massachusetts man is standing trial for shooting death of his girlfriend's ex-boyfriend. Brian Camp, 24, is charged with manslaughter for the death of Jonathan Lathander, 27. According to the testimony, Lathander broke into the home Camp shared with his girlfriend and their two children on December the 27th, 2022, and attacked Camp as he slept. Brooke Janicki's 911 captured a nearly 20-minute physical altercation between Camp and Lathander in the call played in court. Janicki is historical as she describes the two men fighting, and the first gunshot is heard. Approximately 8.5 minutes later, a second shot is recorded. In their opening statement, prosecutors said Camp's first shot was legally self-defense, but argued the second shot was unnecessary and more force than reasonably needed to defend themselves. Camp's defense argued Leandra was still a threat and moving when the second shot was fired. A medical examiner testified to recovering handcuffs from Lathander's pocket during autopsy. Authorities also recovered a knife from his jacket that was found on the scene in the days after the shooting. An investigation revealed Janicki and Lathander, who had worked together, briefly dated while she was separated from Camp earlier that year. Janicki ultimately ended her relationship with Lathander to get back together with Camp. Court documents detail text messages Janicki received from Lathander that reveal he was upset about their breakup. Camp has pled not guilty and has been out on bond while waiting for trial. On day one, Brian Camp's defense claims that the defendant acted in self-defense when he killed Jonathan Lathander after he broke into Camp's home following a physical altercation. Camp shot Lathander twice. However, there was 8.5 minutes between the shots. Prosecutors argue after Camp lawfully shot Lathander in self-defense, he took the law into his own hands and out of retaliation or revenge shot Lathander in the head minutes later. Jurors heard Brooke Janicki's roughly 20-minute 911 call. In the call, Camp and Lathander are heard fighting in the background. Jurors were shown police body cam video of Camp at his home after the shooting. A portion of Brian Camp's interview with police was played. In the interview, Camp said he awoke to Janicki screaming and a guy standing in the doorway of their bedroom before Lathander attacked him. The jury has shown the remainder of Camp's first police interview. Recordings hours after the shooting. Camp said he expected the intruder, later identified as Lathander, to run out of the house. Camp said after the shooting, he put his gun on the railing and went upstairs to put on clothes. Camp said both shots were fired before he put on clothes. At the time of the interview, he said he had no idea who Lathander was or his connection to Janicki. Sergeant Michael O'Brien testified in days after the scene was processed, they were contacted about a jacket found in the house belonging to Lathander. Inside the jacket was a knife. The jury has shown multiple crime scene photos of the home mapping out the physical altercation between Camp and Lathander, including a broken shotgun in the kitchen and bloodstains in the bedroom. Sergeant O'Brien testified that handcuffs were recovered from Lathander's pocket during the autopsy. Forensic pathologist Dr. Andrew Ellen, who conducted Lathander's autopsy, said he had a gunshot wound to the head and torso and numerous lacerations. Lathander's toxicology test was negative for drugs or alcohol. Dr. Elin said the case of the death was gunshot wounds to the head and torso and multiple blunt force injuries. The Commonwealth rests after calling MSP Trooper Christopher Ulaney. Ulaney collected and analyzed ballistics evidence from the scene and determined projectiles found in the victim Lathander's body were fired from Camp's 9mm Sig Sauer handgun. Both sides asked Eulania about the proximity of cartridges casting to the victim's body as part of the dispute over where Kemp was standing when he shot Lathandra the second time, and if he needed to do so to defend himself. The defense begins its case by calling Shannon Samuelson, a friend of Brooke Janicki, who also worked with Janicki and Lathandra at Dunkin' Donuts. Samuelson testified she went to the home on December the 28th, 2022 to collect items for Janicki and her children. While grabbing items from the home, she noticed Lathandra's jacket on the couch. Samuelson said when she picked up the jacket, a knife fell out. She immediately called for Janicki's father, who was in the house with her, who said it wasn't there. She testified she then brought the knife outside to Janicki, who called police. We're going to play this video right quick. I believe in this case he should not be found guilty. He only shot him twice. The dude broke into his fucking home.
Massachusetts is where this case is taking place. The Jealous Ex Shot Dead trial for Brian Kemp. He is accused of killing a man who broke into his home at night. He shot him twice. The first shot, the prosecution says, was fair game, but the second shot, 8.5 minutes later, was not. We're listening now to the 911 call that both the prosecution and defense say proves their case in the case against Brian Kemp.
911. Hello? Ma'am, please send the South Street. Okay, in Justice. Ma'am, what is going on there, please? Ma'am, did you say somebody broke into your house? Okay, where are they right now? Attacking your boyfriend? Do you know who they are? Ma'am, are there any weapons? Okay, does the person who broke into your house have any weapons? Okay, do you know who they are? If you do know who they are, who is it? Who is it? Ma'am, who broke into your house? Ma'am, where are they located right now? Okay, they're upstairs in your house? Are you down there? Okay, I need Ma'am, I need you to take a deep breath so I can get this information from you, okay? They're already on their way out to you. Okay, hold on. Okay, Jonathan, what's his last name? Bartender? Okay. So, what is your boyfriend's name?
Wow, what a hysterical call there from the woman who's at the center of this, the girlfriend who called 911. We're hitting the pause button on this 911 call. We're going to bring in our in-studio guest, former federal prosecutor and criminal defense attorney Michael Sterling is here. Just tell me what you think about the hysterics in that call. Who does that help when you're hearing this chaos?
I mean, I think it helps the defense, right? Because what you're doing is putting into context a real life situation, right? It's easy for prosecutors to sort of replay what was happening in that scene, but when you hear the hysteria, the chaos, the moment of this all happening, and you can feel the real emotions, the fear, the thought process, you can see, like, there's a reason that there's an exception to the hearsay rule called excited utterance. Because when you're in that moment, it's hard for you to make something up, right? You can't just, when you have that frantic, that nervousness, that stress, that fear, you can't just make stuff up. And so when you hear what's happening in the moment, I think it really helps the defense's case because it puts into context what might have been happening in that, what going through. You can hear that that's his wife. She's afraid. She's scared. She's terrified. And so it helps put into context what they were going through in that moment.
This is anyone's worst nightmare, a home invasion. You are asleep, you wake up, and someone is inside of your home. And we're hearing that play out, the 20 minutes that it took police to get there. Are jurors going to hang their hat on that? Are they really going to lean into that? Knowing that sometimes police can come immediately, sometimes they can't. But what do you do if you're a defendant or the shooter in this case and you have the assailant inside your home still?
And 20 minutes is an unusually long time when you have a call like that. Right now, if you call 911 and you're looking for assistance or there's some non-emergency type situation where you can wait for police, but typically when you have a home invasion, someone's in your home, you have a call like that, you usually have somewhere between a 3.5 to 4.5 minute call. 3.5 to 4.5 minute response time from police or emergency responders. 20 minutes is unusually long for this type of incident. And so I do think that's gonna impact jurors because it's like, what was going on in those 20 minutes? And was the threat ever leveled? And, was there reason to still be in fear that something could happen? And why were you taking so long?
That's going to be key. Was the threat leveled? I think that's what both of these sides are going to be hammering home. Michael Sterling, thank you so much. We do have to get to a break, but we've hit the pause button on that 911 call. We're all going to listen to it play out together. We're going to listen for those two shots. And kudos to that 911 call operator being able to translate really what this poor woman is saying in that moment. Stay with us. You're watching Court TV, your front row seat to justice. Welcome to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae, filling in for Julie Grant. And this hour, we are tracking two major cases. One in Georgia, where convicted killer Leilani Simon, her sentencing is scheduled for today at 1:30 p.m. We're also tracking a trial in Massachusetts. We're getting you caught up on the jealous ex shot dead murder trial for Brian Camp. He's charged with manslaughter in the death of his girlfriend's ex-boyfriend. And according to court documents, the victim, Jonathan Latender, broke into the home that Camp shared with his girlfriend and two children and attacked Camp while he was sleeping. Latender was the girlfriend's ex who couldn't let it go, wanted to still be with her, and that night at 12:30 a.m. broke in. Camp allegedly shot Latender in the torso first as Brooke Janik was calling 911, and then 8.5 minutes later, he shoots again. Let's listen to more of that 911 call.
Jonathan has a firearm right now? Ma'am? Okay, who has the gun right now? You have it? Okay. Is Jonathan still in the house right now? Are they separated right now? Okay, do you have the only gun there now? Yes. Okay, hold on 1 second, okay? What's your name now? What's going on now? Okay, what is your name? Janet? Okay, hold on 1 second, okay? Okay, and what is going on right now, please? Okay, that's all right. So Brian has Jonathan in the living room right now? And where are you? Okay. And you said Brian is bleeding? Okay, hold it. He has another one. Who has another one? We have a two in the house because he's a deer hunter. Okay, nobody currently has a firearm in their hand except for you, right? Brian has one, and Jonathan has a metal bar. They're still fighting. Okay, so hold on. So you have a gun in your hand. Your boyfriend Brian has a gun? Yeah, just currently? Okay, and Jonathan has a metal bar or something. Okay, all right. I want you to stand on with me, okay? Do not sit up. So you're awake right now. Can you tell me why he broke into your house? He's my boss at Dunkin' Donuts for 3 years now. Okay, where are you right now? I want you to stay out of the house, okay? Okay, take a deep breath. You need to stay out of the home, okay? What else have you heard? Okay, you don't hear anything anymore? Ma'am, stay out of the house, okay? shot him? Party shot? Fire did Brian shoot the You shot him where? Is Brian outside with you right now?
This is a call that screams exigent circumstances. It's hard to make out, hard to hear everything that Brooke Janik is saying there, but you can hear her reacting, saying no over and over. And the shot did happen there. And we know that because then she's talking about it to the 911 caller who is asking her for more details about this shot. But that's the first shot. And what we're anticipating is that there's going to be a second shot about 8.5 minutes later. Let's pick it up where we're leaving off.
Okay, then stay out of the house, okay? I am. You're on the front porch. I'm gonna relay some information to the troopers. You need to stay on the phone and stay out of the house, okay? You've seen Brian. Brian came outside and he was not shot. Hold on, stay on the phone. Do not go in the house. Can you ask Brian where in the body he shot Jonathan? Yes.
We're hitting the pause button on this 911 call. We want to bring in our analyst to talk about this piece of evidence. We have still with us here in studio criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Michael Sterling. We also have joining us the chief trial attorney for the prosecution's office in Muskegon, Michigan, Muskegon County, Michigan. Matt Roberts is with us as well. Matthew, thank you for joining us. Let me get your take now that you are here watching along with us on this case and the 911 call's impact, because Brooke Janik is hysterical throughout. There doesn't seem to be a lull yet in her fear on this call.
Yeah, it certainly is harrowing to listen to, and being in the position of trying to determine whether this was self-defense or not. This is an incredibly difficult case for the prosecution here. I trust they believe that they have the evidence to prove this, but juries tend to react viscerally, right? They react on a personal level, whereas lawyers and police officers and analyzing evidence look at it in a more analytical sense. So this 911 call really presses that visceral button for the jurors where they're going to have a strong reaction to that, and it's going to be difficult for them to set aside that feeling and just look at the cold facts of the case and say, well, 8.5 minutes is enough time where you shouldn't be a threat anymore. Very challenging, very, very difficult case.
Yeah, difficult case for this jury. I think they're really going to have to understand the law in this case, Michael, because the facts, I mean, what do you think prosecutors were thinking when they decided, yes, this is one we're going to go after?
I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, this is the reason the reason I practice criminal defense law, right? For cases just like this, right? Someone in their own home, minding their own business, being with their family, being with their kids, and someone invites trouble to you, brings trouble to you. You're doing nothing wrong except being in your home, minding your business. Someone breaks into your home with a knife to attack you while your kids are there, while you're sleeping in your own home, and you react in a way that allows you to defend yourself and your family, and you get indicted for it and get charged with a crime. This is the reason I practice criminal defense law for cases just like this.
And we understand from Richard Grundy, a trial attorney that we've had on our air, that the range for this judge, if this defendant is convicted, is between probation and 20 years for this manslaughter case. So it's a fascinating one to see play out. Michael Sterling, thank you so much. I know we have to say goodbye to you, but thanks for being here with us. We have more ahead. That 911 call that was made in the Jealous Ex Shot Dead murder trial. We're going to hear that second shot, or at least the reaction to it, on the other side of this quick break.
Tonight on Court TV. I'm Vinny Politan. Welcome to Closing Arguments. We have a big hour ahead.
Picking it up where we left off in this call, we're listening for that second shot that happened 8.5 minutes after the first shot, but also the defense says there was an exclamation before that shot. Let's go in.
What is your last name? It's Janet? J-N-I-K. What's your phone number? 413-992-9122. Okay. Is Brian outside with you now? What was the last thing that Brian told you, man? Okay. What's Brian doing right now? Is can he? He's been outside. Okay, where's the firearm that Brian had? I think you're going to outside. You don't know. Just go up to the door and talk to him. I don't know. I make sure that firearm is away from John. Okay. You just heard another gunshot? Hold on 1 second, Dina. I'm calling the home. Stay away from the house, man. I don't want you. I know. Brian, well, what's he hearing when he just came outside? They're not coming out, are they? Heard another gunshot? There should be a cruiser approximately a minute out from you, okay? Let's just see that. I want you to make your hands visible to that cruiser, and then you just slowly walk away from the house and speak with him, okay? And he'll better direct you on what to do. Is Brian able to come out? Have you heard from him at all? I don't think he's in the house. Did he shoot a gun again? Okay, did he shoot a gun again, ma'am? Okay. What is the status of Jonathan right now? Okay, is he alive? I don't know. Okay. Okay, Brian, do you have a firearm on you still? Okay. Yeah, you can put it away from you. I want you when the cruiser gets there. Both of you make your hands visible to him and cooperate with him when he gets there, okay? I want you to let me know when he's right next to you. Are you walked away from the house? Okay, make sure your hands are visible to him? Okay. That's okay. Keep your other hand out and tell Brian to keep his hands visible. Okay, are you good? You're talking to the trooper view? Okay, I'm gonna hang up with you, okay?
So on this case, I'm going to say, in my opinion, this is just my personal opinion. Legally, that's up to the judge to decide and all the thing. I don't think this man should be charged, and here's my reasoning. This dude broke into their home, had handcuffs in his jacket, had a knife. He had intention of to do bodily harm. Regardless if the shots were 8 minutes apart, what if he shot him first time in the chest and then he was trying to get up and come at him again? Like, what if it took him 8 minutes to actually realize he had been shot and go, oh my God, and then he tried to get up again? Regardless of the situation, the dude broke into their home, had evil intention. I'm sorry, I just don't see this as a thing. Somebody breaks into your home and has evil intent and literally standing in your bedroom doorway. What is your first reaction as a person? To protect, and his kids were in that house, to protect his children. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't believe this one should be a thing. I can understand why legally, because legally after the first shot, if he was down, you're not supposed to shoot again. I get that. But literally, the guy's trying to protect his family. You know what I'm saying? And whatnot. So that's why, I'm over here on this one debating on what, what the situation should be. Now, I also do need to look up to see if they're going to do more on the when the sentencing is for the lady who did the suitcase trial. This is a different one. This, is an older trial, but to see if there's more to that story. Because I would like to know. So they haven't had any updates since day 3, but I was wondering, that's why I was looking. There is a trial date set and plea offer in works for Jad charged. People were talking about this trial right here. The hot car death one. So it says a trial date is set and a plea offer is in the works for the case of the Arizona dad charged with murder after leaving his 2-year-old daughter in hot car this summer. Judge Kimberly Ortiz scheduled a trial for Christopher Schultz for September the 15th of 2025, which is set to last 10 days. The parties will be back in court for status hearings scheduled for January 27th of 2025 and August the 11th of 2025. In court Wednesday, prosecutors said they are in contact with the Schultz defense team and are working out final details in the plea that will be offered. We'll have that to defense shortly. Schultz appeared in court Wednesday with his attorney but did not speak. He was originally charged with second-degree murder for leaving his daughter asleep in the car while in his driveway in July. A month later, a grand jury indicted him on charges of first-degree murder and child abuse. Schultz pled not guilty to the charges. During the investigations, Schultz had told the police he left his daughter in the car with the air conditioner on because she had been sleeping, something he revealed he had done before. On the day she died, the car and the air conditioner had shut off after Schultz went into the house. Let's go ahead and play this. We are going to keep an eye on this as it progresses. Then I'm going to switch over where we were talking about the Tortolani case. There's some information on that one out as well.
Now for what's trending in true crime. Charges have been upgraded against an Arizona father accused of leaving his 2-year-old daughter in a hot car for hours before she died. All of this while he allegedly was playing video games. 37-year-old Christopher Schultz now faces felony first-degree murder and felony child abuse in the death of little Parker Schultz. He told police that he left the girl sleeping in the back seat last month with the air conditioning on. Here's Craig Smith of Scripps News Tucson with the story.
Marana police say the 2-year-old girl died after the father left her in the back seat of the family car for more than 3 hours. The man told police that he left the engine and the air conditioner running, but he also knew that that car would shut itself off fairly quickly.
The young girl died on July 9th. Marana police originally said Christopher Schultz left the 2-year-old girl in this car with the air conditioning running, but the air conditioning shut off. He said he had left the child in the car before and did not want to wake her because she was sleeping.
This is one of her own company cars, but it has a feature the car in this case had too. If you put this car in park and leave the motor running, the car will shut off automatically in 30 minutes. And police say Christopher Schultz knew that.
According to the interim complaint, the family's other children, aged 5 and 9, told police Schultz often left all the children in the car and on this day was distracted by a video game and by putting some food away. Schultz's wife is a medical doctor. Investigators say she came home about 4 p.m. and asked where the 2-year-old was. The report says Schultz searched through the house, then remembered the girl was still in the car. By that time, the car and its air conditioning had stopped. Police say by late afternoon, the temperature was 109. Schultz told police he had returned home with the girl by about 2:30. Police found neighborhood surveillance video that showed they'd returned at 12:52, about 2 hours sooner. The child's mother tried to revive the child but could not. Police say as an ambulance rushed the child to a hospital, the mother texted Christopher Schultz, "I told you to stop leaving them in the car. How many times have I told you?" Schultz responded, "Baby, I'm sorry." The mother texted, "We've lost her. She was perfect." Schultz said, "Babe, our family, how could I do this? I killed our baby. This can't be real." Craig Smith, KGUN 9.
Tragic story all around, and this morning we are asking why first-degree murder charges instead of the original charge of second-degree murder. Let's bring in our wonderful panel of guests. We have former homicide prosecutor Melba Pearson still with us, criminal defense attorney and former public defender Michael Riley, and retired DEA supervisory special agent Michael Wilhite Sr. is with us. Thank you all for being here and for breaking down this really heartbreaking story, but it's an important one. And Michael Riley, I want to start with you. First-degree murder versus second-degree murder, but it doesn't mean that he's any more intentional because it's felony murder. Can you break that down and react to whether or not prosecutors should have taken it this step?
Yes, thanks, Julia. It's great to be here. I think there's several factors that led to the charge getting brought up to a murder 1 as opposed to a murder 2. First and foremost, we're talking about July in Arizona, 109 degrees outside. Second, we know that Christopher Schultz's vehicle was going to shut off. He knew it was going to shut off. It did shut off. And third, for over 3 hours, he sat inside playing video games and never went outside to check on Parker. Just a heartbreaking case, Julia.
So heartbreaking for everyone in the family. Michael Wilhite, can you talk to just the investigating part of this case? You have officers first knowing that there's a child that is deceased inside of a car, but they don't stop there. That doesn't automatically get them to thinking that this may be a murder case.
Right, Julia. How are you doing? You know, they're going to definitely look into cooperate as far as, and I think you already mentioned that in the prelude, that when he actually arrived, they're looking at cameras, you know, from the residence, from the streets and stuff to see when he actually arrived. They found that he drive 2 hours earlier than what he stated he did. They're gonna be talking to the other kids too to see if there's a pattern. They discovered that apparently he's left him in the car before. Texting the apparently texting between him and the missus after she tried to revive the child. The search reflects that he's done it before, and they've talked about his pattern before. Also, they're gonna look at talk to the neighbors. They're gonna talk to as far as if there's daycare or school officials. Check medical records and everything to see if there's a pattern. Beyond just him leaving the child in the car, the kids in the car.
Melba, Michael, well, thank you for that. But Melba, I want to talk about the human side of this, the parent side of this. You know that this is a dad who seems like he was truly remorseful, cannot believe that he did something like this. And a defense likely will be looking into distracted syndromes. Forgotten baby syndromes is one that a neuroscientist in the Justin Ross Harris case, David Diamond, brought forward, where there's a neurological part of it where this person's brain just completely forgets because he looked for her in the house, thought she was in the house at the time. But first degree versus second degree, your thoughts on prosecutors saying, no, we're going to go even tougher with this?
Yeah, and as a former prosecutor, I hate to say it, I think it's an overstretch. I think it's an overreach. I think second-degree murder would have been appropriate, as well as even possibly manslaughter. If I was charging it, I would probably charge second-degree murder with the option for the jury, if that is permissible in Arizona, as a lesser included offense, to be able to pick manslaughter if they thought the facts warranted it. Based on the text messages between the husband and wife, you know, it sounded like, listen, he may not have been the greatest dad in the world, but it didn't sound like he wanted to kill his child. It doesn't sound like there had been abuse in home. If that came to light, then I would have a different viewpoint. point, but it just seems we have heard of this so many times before. I believe it was in Georgia where a man left his child in the car and then got on the train, went to work, and completely forgot his child was still in the car seat, and sadly she passed away. So these things do happen. Yes, charges are appropriate, but I don't think he was intentionally, because this is a felony murder, you have the child abuse aspect, and then it was elevated to felony murder because of the fact she died. I still think it's too much. I think the family is grieving very deeply. I think he's very remorseful. This is, to me, a second-degree murder or a manslaughter.
Now, Schultz has said, as we've mentioned, he had done this before. He left her inside of the car with the AC running and that everything was fine. But the complaint in this case reveals that at the time he was distracted by not only video games, but putting groceries away. That's what he told police. And so it leads us to ask, should he, if this goes to trial, if this gets to that point, should he take the stand in his own defense? Michael Riley, this is one of those cases. It's not a self-defense case where we often say it's almost you have to take the stand if you're the defendant. But in a case like this, where you have the wife, the mother of this child, fully supporting her husband, she pleaded for him to get bond, and he did, with the judge saying this was just a tragic mistake. Is this something that he would need to relay himself to the jury?
I think it's a strategy the defense should seriously consider. He likely has no criminal record. He can take the stand. I think a jury is going to have sympathy for him. He lost a child. His wife would likely testify as part of the defense case, and his testimony would likely to be consistent with that. Especially if the state is going to go forward with this murder one charge, I think he has a lot of incentive to get up on the stand and tell his story. And if this was maybe a negligent situation, a reckless situation, I think his testimony could help enforce that. And if not get him an acquittal, which I think would be very difficult, it might support a finding of a lesser included offense like a murder two or a manslaughter.
Michael, will I talk about how public perception is of these cases? I mean, they are the headlines that grab people's attention. It breaks our hearts. But parents, if there are parents on that jury, do you think they will commiserate with him or feel much differently this tragedy that he was looking at video games, that he was putting groceries away? Are they going to be able to relate, or are they just going to look at him like a terrible, terrible parent?
I think it's going to be 50-50, Julia. You're going to have some that can relate to that. You know, hey, taking the groceries in, just briefly leaving the kids in the car briefly. I mean, you know, but also, you know, Arizona, you have the other aspect, other part of the jurors. They're like, hey, how could you do that? But I'll tell you one thing. There is no punishment that the courts can give him that he's not been already punished for right now. Just the mere fact that he lost his child, it was through his negligence, and that's going to just run through his mind, through his soul for the remainder of his years.
It's such a difficult case, but thank you all for weighing.
So we are going to watch how this case plays out and everything. I feel I have no sympathy for him. He went inside and played video games. Now, I could understand if it was like a 2.5 second thing, like they said, where they were just getting groceries out of the car. But even then, come on now. You can't tell me you forget your child is in the car and you go play video games for hours and forget your child is in the car. Like, why didn't you pick up your baby, even if they're asleep and you don't want to wake them, right? And take them in there and lay them down in their bed. Lay them down in their bed. And because he's done this before, I believe that's why they are pushing for stricter punishment on him, because this wasn't his first time leaving the baby in the car. All right. This wasn't just his first time. So I think that's why they upgraded the charges, in my opinion. Because, I mean, can you imagine what that poor mom's going through? Like, she was just at work or whatever, and he left the baby in the car. And she comes home and her baby's like in the car, passed away. Could you imagine what she felt? And she thought her husband was watching those babies, and she thought he was responsible. And she, like, because she can't, you know, that's your partner. And she thought he would do better, right? Regardless. And I'm going to say this. If he had done that once previous before, I would start hiring somebody to watch my kids, and he would get up off his lazy ass and help me pay for it. Sorry, but not sorry. That kind of PO'd me. Now, we do have a new situation. It has developed a little bit with the Tortellini Fields case. You know, we talked about it. The woman who literally, they found her mom's head in the pot, and her body was out in the fields and whatnot. And, you know, they had the brother who, this is out of Arkansas, the brother who one of the family members had a, had a restraining order on, and she said, if you find me, it's because of him. So this family has a lot of issues within them. I will say this much, what I've read so far. So this case will also be interesting when it goes to trial, because like, what part does she had this lady had a traumatic brain injury, but what part does that play in the fact that she literally was trying to eat her mom? And is she safe to even go back on the streets? What's going on inside this family home for it to not just be her, but her brother included? And like, this is a crazy situation if you watch this whole story. Like, is this family mentally unwell? Do, you know, like, for the brother and the sister to have mental issues?
A Kentucky woman accused of killing and dismembering her mother. Thanks for joining us here at 5:30. I'm Chris Jacobs.
And I'm Ashley Kirkland. A lot of new information is coming from a protection order filed by the suspect's sister. WLWT News 5's Ryan Hamrick reports from Robertson County with what we're learning.
Well, this is a protection order filed by the sister of the suspect who's accused of murdering and dismembering her own mother. It provides some bizarre insights into more turmoil within this family. The change surrounding this rural farm isn't in the fall colors. It's how a violent crime has cast a different light on this landscape.
We've never had to acquire anything like this in our life.
Trudy Fields was shot, stabbed, and dismembered here. Some body parts found cooking in an oven. Her daughter, Tortellini Fields, is charged. KSP says when they arrived on the scene, she was out of control, screaming she was a witch and casting spells.
I'm so sad, and I want justice for my family member, but I'm so sad because is my other family member not okay?
Olivia Brock is the victim's niece. She and others in the family want a quick and fair resolution.
I'll be making the motion to dismiss without prejudice based upon that indictment.
Today, charges were taken out of district court, now filed in circuit court. But in the same Robertson County courthouse, there are new insights into the suspect's immediate family and more unsettling issues. This protection order, just filed by the suspect's sister, Telby Fields, says another family member has threatened to kill her. We're not naming that person. She says the person is mentally and utterly unstable. She ends the application saying, "When my body is found," she says, "this person murdered me." A protective order, the latest dark chapter that even overshadows the colors of fall. Now, they're yet to have the funeral for the victim, Trudy Fields, and part of the reason for this protection order is the sister wanted this other family member to stay away from that funeral. The judge granted the protection order. Brian Hemrick, WLWT, News 5.
Okay, so we're going to read this, and I'm also going to show you the difference between district court and circuit court, because they did move it from district court to circuit court so that people could understand what the differences between the two court cases are. There are new sights into the family of the woman accused of killing and dismembering her mother in Robertson County. The case against Tortellini Fields was dismissed in district court Wednesday because it has already been moved into circuit court. Fields did not appear in court or by video. The hearing took about a minute and was a procedural matter. Trudy Fields was shot, stabbed, and dismembered on the rural Robertson County farm where she lived. Some body parts were found cooking in an oven. Her daughter, Tortellini Fields, is charged with the homicide. The Kentucky State Police said when their officer arrived on the scene, Tortellini Fields was out of control, screaming she was a witch and casting spells. They did have... they did also have the protection order that was against, the person who took out the protection order says, when my body is found, insert family member's name here, murdered me. She basically stated that the brother was going to murder her. So I am going to look up, and this is in Kentucky. I did make sure I specifically put it. The American judicial system comprises of several court systems broadly divided into the federal and state courts. District court and circuit courts, or federal court of appeals, are part of the federal court system. District courts are lower and have the responsibility for holding trials, while circuit courts are appellate courts that do not hold trials but only hear appeals for cases decided by the lower court. The district court system is spread over 94 different geographical areas, while the circuit court has 13 administrative regions covering the United States. Several different district courts may fall under the same appellate circuit court. Note that some states, such as Florida and Texas, also have what they call district courts, but this comparison is about federal court system. Okay, so in circuit court and district court, circuit court appeals on trials already completed, a step towards the Supreme Court. Number of cases, judges per case is 3, judge appellate panel. District court, general trials and questions of federal law. A federal case moves through the judicial system. They are first heard at the district court level, which handles general trials. In district court cases, only one judge is assigned to each case. There are 94 district courts throughout the United States and the Associated Territories, including Guam, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and the District of Columbia, and the Northern Mariana Islands. The circuit court system is a smaller court system comprised of 13 different courts, though these are not limited to one single courtroom. In fact, many of the circuit court systems are spread over many buildings in large geographical areas. Each case in circuit court has a panel of 3 judges assigned. Circuit court judges rotate through each of these regions in the circuit, hence the reason they are called the circuit courts. Roles of the courts. The district court and the circuit court have very different jobs. The district court, for a particular geographical area, hears general litigation issues as well as challenges to federal law. These cases may include divorce cases, felonies, even issues involving diversity and questions about rights of voters. Once the decision has been reached by the judge, these cases may be appealed. District courts provide sentencing and issue penalties, while the circuit court does not. If an appeal is filed, the case will move up to the circuit court level, which only hears appeals on federal cases. These cases may have, see, this is talking about federal, hers is criminal. Let's see if they show, because that's, but I mean, let's see here. Let me look. I think the reason they moved it up to the circuit, in my opinion, versus the district, district can be appealed, I think, because circuit court is literally the higher court. It is less chance of her trying to appeal. Could be also that they have a plea bargain that she's trying to go for. So it could be that. It could also be that let's see here. District courts and circuit courts are part of, we know they're a part of the, district courts are lower and have the responsibility for holding trials, where I think that she may be also trying to go for a judge-based trial. What they call a judge-based trial is where you don't have a jury. So that may be why she's trying to do that right now, because it's different. But I don't understand why they moved it from, they moved it. The case against her was dismissed in district court and they moved it to circuit court. I don't understand why they moved it to circuit court. And that literally makes no sense to me. Unless they're trying to do it because, maybe she's trying to go to a higher court system, because it's if you look at the court systems, it is a tower-like thing, right? It goes from the lowest court to the highest court. So I'm still in consideration of why they moved that. Let me see if I can find some more information on this very quick. I'm trying to look, because she's been charged with murder, abuse of a corpse, tampering with physical evidence, torturing of a dog with serious physical injury or death, obstructing governmental operations. She's accused of a lot of things. So I'm wondering why they moved courts. That's like my question of the hour, is why did they move the court? I don't know if this is going to have any new information, but I'm going to bring this up. We're going to see if it has any new information. I don't think it does. That trial's yet to be set, because obviously it happened in October of this year. It takes a little while for trials. Let's see here. Let me refresh this page for y'all right quick, because for some reason the video does not want to play. It's stuck. We gotta add y'all.
From family of the woman accused of murdering and dismembering her mother in Robertson County. Her family says that there were no warning signs that such a violent and unsettling attack was ahead. Toralina Fields was set to appear in court today, but that took a strange turn as well. And we do want to warn you, some of the details here are disturbing. WLWT News 5's Brian Hamrick is live in Cynthiana with this story. And Brian, just like us, the family is stunned.
Yeah, well, actually, they're having trouble finding the words to describe the level of disgust and concern and how upset they really are over all of this. They're in two corners at once. On one side for the mother, because she was a victim in all this, and then on the other for her daughter, because this is not the person that they all knew.
Even though she has been indicted this morning, she's not been served.
So Toralina Fields was supposed to appear on video arraignment, but the murder indictment had just come down. Prosecutors didn't want to arraign her until she had seen the indictment, so that was postponed. Her mugshot is the only picture of her since the arrest. The victim is her mother, Trudy Fields. Investigators say she was shot in the head, stabbed multiple times, and her body was dismembered. They also found body parts in a pot inside the oven. Toralina was covered in blood. Officers say they had to use tear gas on her as she tried to cast spells on them.
We obviously, everybody's angry and confused and stuff at why, but how do you say, I'm so sad and I want justice for my family member, but I'm so sad because is my other family member not okay? Where do we go? We are way in a gray area there.
Yeah, now the family says Torlina went to California a few years ago. They say she was a talented singer, a dancer, or an actress. They say she was even in a few low-budget films while she was out there. But they say she had a motorcycle accident and she sustained a severe brain injury. And they're wondering if that may be at the root of all this. Reporting live, Brian Hemrick, WLWT News 5.
Brian, do we know if she was into witchcraft before all of this?
Yeah, we talked to the family about that. They say they were aware she was into witchcraft even before the motorcycle accident, but they say they didn't realize she had come back from California until all of this happened. Ashley?
Okay, so that's what we know about the Kentucky thing, right? Right now, we are waiting. We have 50 minutes, so I'm probably going to jump off this live. And when I get the, hey, Montrese, when I get the sentencing for Leilani Simon, I'm going to do a special one by itself. So this was True Crime Thursday. We did a lot today, a lot of different cases, a lot of different things. And I'm going to play my outro. I hope y'all have a blessed, beautiful day. I'm going to go right quick and check to see who is live, at this moment. I believe our girl VS is live. Hold on. Let me make sure that this is right. Make sure this is right. Okay. Our girl VS is live right now. So if y'all want to go over there, I'm going to share her link in the chat right this moment. I've been live for a very long time, and I'm going to share her live link. She is live right now. Let's see who else is live, because y'all know that I do it, and I let y'all choose where you want to go. You know what I'm saying? So it's your choice. So right now we have VS Icon, Creole Butterfly, Ben Zone, Ken Nola, Miss Callie Kitchen, 762 Reloaded. They are all live right now. And I'm going to go up there to our beautiful girl, VS. Hope to see you there. I will come back later with the Leilani Simon thing, and we're going to figure out how she got. All right. Thank y'all, and have a blessed day.
I'm from the TUPELO. I'm reppin' my hood, so love I'm gon' show from the TUPELO. I'm reppin' my hood to the day that I go from the TUPELO. I'm reppin' my hood, so love I'm gon' show from the TUPELO. I'm ripping my hood to the day that I go.
I'm from the west side, we don't need no introduction, this was the best ride. We all big boy rolling and holding, come take a test drive. Hilldale, Evergreen, Glenkirk, Outer Street, bending every corner on the west, and that's where I'll be. Sunroof back, Captain C banging down 1800, chunking up the deuce to my post slanging down on 1800. Show no love to the ladies that's training round on 1800, making time stand still, crystalline swinging down 1800. Watching out for them knuckleheads that be stanging round on 1800. Big rims and low pros be blanging round.